Everyone in this world mutates into the last animal they eat. Some people eat a shark and a dog, turned into a shark dog and taken to a mental institution. Some people use beef and horse meat for hot pot, turned into a cow or a horse, disliked by 7 billion people. 5-star General MacArthur has a problem with that. He's gonna eat Ultraman and Coda Duck, become a Diga of light and save the world. It's because the world is changing as the end comes. Each person will gain the natural ability to eat the last animal. In my last life, I ate fried chicken. It turned out to be a chicken with a backpack. He survived for 2.5 years and died a horrible death in the tide of the beast. But when I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in the classroom before the mutation. However, there are still 10 minutes left before the global mutation. Now I have to find powerful animals to save my life. Just when I don't know what animal to eat, I found the words biology written on the whiteboard in big letters. The memories of my last life came flooding back to me at once. In her last life, school beauty Vivian Sue tried to get first place in her biology class. Got a little crocodile for the occasion. But it's such an unassuming little crocodile. But after the mutation, it turned into a huge Thunder Jiao Emperor. This has led to the entire school of 30,000 students becoming food for Lei Jiao. Thinking of this, I instantly ran towards the small crocodile in the cage, grabbed the baby crocodile and swallowed it alive. Even though the little alligator is still squirming in my guts, but I made it through the pain. Everyone in the classroom thinks I'm a psychopath. This guy is disgusting. What a shrimp head. Vivian Sue was angry that I ate her crocodile. Zhang Chang, the P.E. committee member who's been flirting with Su Weiwei for 2.5 years, wants to make a splash. How dare you bully my Vivi? I'll beat you until the crocodile crawls out of your belly for the Lord. And then he came at me. But I didn't pay any attention to him. Instead, they stare intently at the cell phone in their hands. There are 10 seconds left in the global mutation. Just when Zhang Chang's fist was about to hit me, an electromagnetic storm has suddenly swept through the solar system. Humanity around the globe was instantly plunged into endless darkness. A blood moon hangs high in the sky. The moment Zhang Chang's fist touched my cheek, a blazing temperature burned his skin directly. At this point I feel like my blood is boiling. Less than 2.5 seconds. I have fluorescent blue scales growing on my body, and a pair of dragon's special horns grew out of his head. Name, Li Qian. Level, First Order. Mimicry Divine Weapon, Double Ridge Thunder Blade. Mimetic Divine Armor, Mirage Spirit Armor. Mimetic War Spirit, Thunder Mosquito Emperor. Talent 1, Purple Heavenly Thunder. Talent 2, Devouring. The Purple Heavenly Thunder Releaser is capable of releasing powerful thunderbolts. Devouring and eating other war spirits has the probability of gaining the opponent's talent ability. I had to be shocked to see that. No wonder this dragon was able to take over the entire Shanghai city in its last life. Turns out it has more than just a talent. There's also an ability to devour and evolve. This is a divine technique. Suddenly there were screams from behind me. Turning around, I noticed that many of my classmates had begun to change. Even the teacher at the podium is mutating. But the mind is not strong enough to be consumed by this energy. Eventually, they become inhuman beasts. Only Zhang Chang's clothes suddenly burst open. The body began to expand, eventually turning into a 5-meter humanoid boar. Only Zhang Chang could be heard murmuring under his breath. Food. I want food. With that, he picked up his fellow student life and swallowed it. You can even hear the ear-splitting sound of bones crushing. Zhang Chang's move directly scared the piss out of the college students present. Before the crowd could react to the escape, Zhang Chang grabbed 2 more people from the crowd. The 2 men were scared shitless and begged for mercy at the same time. Brother Kung, we invited you to the King Yuan Hotel. Leave us alone. But Zhang Chang's body has already been taken over by the mutated energy. I don't understand a word of it. As a result, just when Zhang Chang was about to eat the 2 of them, a pair of eyes emitting green ghostly light stared at Zhang Chang. I recognized it immediately when I saw it. It's the Dark Cat Demon. You should know that the First Order Dark Cat Demon is in the early stages of mutation. It's a boss. And in the early stages of mutation humans, most people are not skilled in the use of their natural abilities. And the Dark Cat Demon has an extra increase in vision at night. Meeting the Night Cat Demon will only get you killed. But in my memory, I've never even heard of a Dark Cat Demon. But I realized that this Dark Cat Demon has a human scent. It also seems to have been turned from a human. Looking around, I noticed some cat hair under the podium. It looks like the Dark Cat Demon is the English teacher. It was a moment of realization. In my last life, due to my awakening, I was a backstrapped chicken, kicked out of the class as a monster. That's why they didn't notice Zhang Chang and the teacher after the mutation. I didn't realize they'd saved me by mistake. But before I could think any further, the Dark Cat Demon disappeared in an instant with a whoosh. The next moment it appeared in mid-air. I saw her swinging her sharp knot to hit Zheng Chang's boar's face fiercely. Immediately there was a bloody red gash on the skinned face. Zheng Chang screamed like a pig. Seeing the monster like Zheng Chang eat his words, the rest of the students in the classroom cheered loudly. Kitty, shoot this ugly monster. But in my eyes they're idiots. Knowing the habits of the night cat demon, I knew exactly what it was doing. Wait for Zheng Chang to be finished off by the dark cat demon. They're all going to fall prey to the night cat demon. Zheng Chang is at a disadvantage. Even if Zheng Chang gets the boar's thick skin and meat, but it's still annoying to be attacked by a dark cat demon. I saw Zheng Chang striding forward. It was hard to force the dark cat demon to the corner of the classroom. At this moment, the night cat demon has no more room to hide. Only Zheng Chang's raised fists were seen. Directly broke one of the dark cat demon's legs. The dark cat demon screamed in pain while making a death-defying lunge. Sharp claws began to frantically dance around Zheng Chang's face. He directly poked Zheng Chang's eyes out. I'm not going to hide my strength anymore. Mimetic soldier. Double-ridged thunder sword. At the moment, I have a weapon in my hand. Highest heaven. In the next second the double-ridged thunderblade carried an infinite amount of purple thunderbolts. I whirled around and leapt up to stab the animalized Zheng Chang hard with my thunderblade. Berserk lightning power began to run amok in Zheng Chang's body. Less than 2.5 seconds. The animalized Zheng Chang Dao was shattered by the thunderbolt. As for why I don't have the devouring boar natural trait, it's because I don't think it's gonna work for me. And Zheng Chang always bullied me. Why don't we just kill him? The shadow cat demon who saw this looked at me with trepidation. You old man. That's a hell of a way to hide. And yet I just smiled a little. Anthropomorphic war spirit, thunder augur emperor. Devour me. When the night cat demon sees Lei Jiao, it feels fear in its heart, trying to get up and run away. But I couldn't stand up because of my broken leg. The thunder Jiao opens its mouth and swallows the dark cat demon. My body felt a pure energy. Told you so. After devouring it, I've gone from first rank to second rank. And there's an extra talent in the talent column, dark cat's pupil. But just as I was about to study the dark cat pupil, the door to the classroom was shattered and slammed. And with a mournful cry of entreaty, open the door and help me. Wei Wei, it's me. Su Weiwei heard someone call her name, so she walked to the classroom door. Through the glass, I realized it was my best friend Zhou Xiaoting. At the moment, Zhou Xiaoting was wearing tattered clothes. Blood stains the clothes red. It's a miserable sight. At this moment, Su Weiwei's heart is overflowing. Was about to push through the locker blocking the classroom door. When I saw that, I stepped forward and stopped him. Because I sensed something wrong with Zhou Xiaoting. He's pale as a sheet. After all, the end times are upon us, and any bad decision. It's possible to get yourself into a life and death situation. That's what I learned from my last generation, which survived for 2.5 years. And humans are not the only ones who can mutate in this post-apocalyptic world. Even all the plants and animals on Aquamarine will change. But Su Weiwei is already overflowing with sainthood. Thinks I'm just a wimp who's going to die trying to help. And she told me to get out of the class as her class president. Totally forgetting that I just saved her life. Even a few female classmates who were on better terms with Su Weiwei and Zhou Xiaoting. She's also on Vivian's side. I thought he was a man. So he's just a shrinking violet. Carl. Really bad. Even the others in the classroom acquiesced to Su Weiwei's behavior. Seeing this, I scanned the crowd with the self-light of a dead man. I've already given you a chance. Then don't blame me for being heartless. When I realized it, I kicked the locker and the classroom door to pieces, and sneak out of the classroom. Zhou Xiaoting behind the door was hit against the wall by the impact of the breaking door. It was at this very moment. It was only then that I saw Zhou Xiaoting's abnormality through the dark cat pupil. Behind Zhou Xiaoting there are dense spider threads looming. The spider silk controls Zhou Xiaoting's every meridian. It looks like the spider silk has taken control of Zhou Xiaoting's body. If I hadn't gained the gift of the dark cat demon, the average person wouldn't be able to see the difference. There's only one way this could happen. That means we've encountered a legendary second-order beast, Puppet Lord Spider, and controlling puppets to lure their fellows into a trap. This is the usual killing method of the Puppet Lord Spider. After I escaped, I ran to the empty classroom next door. This Puppet Lord Spider can't help but make me wonder. It's clearly a second-order beast, and second-ranked beasts are the ones that appear only in the second week of the mutation. That means it's a full week ahead of schedule. Is it the butterfly effect of being born again? Looks like time is running out. I must hurry to improve my strength. At that moment, a miserable scream came from Su Weiwei's side, because at this time Zhou Xiaoting is no longer in disguise, like a ghostly spider monster, and a throaty laugh. Come and play with me. I'm so lonely. Su Weiwei, who wanted to be a saintly mother, was instantly stunned when she saw this scene. I was about to run away, but it was stuck by the spider silk sprayed out by Zhou Xiaoting. They were about to be eaten themselves. He started bawling. But no matter how much they begged to be burned, it's all for naught against the golem Lord Spider. Zhou Xiaoting was lying on all fours on the ground, revealing a miserable white face. The rest of the students tried to escape through the back door. She was poisoned by the mucus sprayed by Zhou Xiaoting, and some are waiting for the awakening. But it was Teddy who awakened. You can do it 18 times a day and still be good. Others have awakened a bull's physique, strong and healthy. But Zhou Xiaoting's poisonous slime is useless. 20 to 30 students were captured without even using their talents. As a result, Vivian took advantage of the situation and escaped. Without hesitation, she dashed towards my classroom, standing under the window yelling my name. And at the same time, he's pulling his collar a little wider, showing off her usual pride and joy. 7N, I know I was wrong just now. I apologize now. I'll do anything you want if you open the door. I'm not impressed. Instead, they mocked Vivian Su. I already gave you a chance. It's a shame you don't appreciate it. When Su Weiwei saw that I ignored her, she immediately put on a false face, staring at me with a pair of spiteful eyes. At the present, I'm going to give you a taste of my own desperation. I only heard Su Weiwei let out an ah. The sticky spider web instantly wrapped Su Weiwei. Layers of cobwebs wrapped Su Weiwei into a chrysalis. Puppet Lord spiders are picky about their food. They only like to eat fresh, live animals. And the web is what keeps it fresh. The manipulated Zhou Xiaoting stumbled and crawled towards me. Suddenly her head rotated 360 degrees to stare at me. I decided to make the first move, kicked open the classroom door and slapped Zhou Xiaoting against the wall. Then a thunderbolt flashed. It went right through her skull and split it in two. Then a small spider fell out of Zhou Xiaoting's head. This small spider is the mastermind behind Zhou Xiaoting's manipulation. She's living in her brain and controlling Zhou Xiaoting's body through a spider silk. And its mother, the golem Lord Spider. The spider is controlled by the power of the mind. Without the golem, the spider has no power. I killed him with a single blow. If I remember correctly, a second-order golem Lord Spider has 2 golems. So now there's only 1 puppet left. I walked out of the classroom when it was resolved. Suddenly the mournful song came out of the empty corridor. It should be another puppet. I immediately ran up to the rooftop of the school building. Used the gift of dark cat pooples to explore the entire campus. Told you so. Soon I spotted an eerie figure. What I didn't expect was, it's a spider with 8 legs, and a human face on the head. Looks like another golem Lord Spider. There were 3 other girls tied to the ground with spiders. Only the puppet Lord Spider placed the human fly in front of the 3 girls and said, "These are my favorite foods. We're good friends. If you have something good, you should share it." But the 3 girls kept shedding tears, looking in horror at the golem Lord Spider in front of him. "Xiaobei, please let us go. You've got a lot of nerve. Think of us as a fart. Let us go. We really know we're wrong. We should never have bullied you before." 3 girls trembled and cried and begged to be burned. I couldn't help but move a little closer when I heard the commotion. After all, I'm pretty good at eating melon. As a result, in the next second, the golem Lord Spider suddenly became furious. "You guys eat. Why don't you eat? I've prepared this especially for you." The 3 girls were instantly too frightened to make a sound. However, Xiaobei in the form of a foreign beast suddenly laughed out loud again. "Are you satisfied now? You're the reason I look like this. If you guys hadn't forced me to eat the spider today, I couldn't have evolved into this either. I'm actually grateful to you guys, despite the words of thanks, but it gives me the creeps." It seems that those 3 girls often bully this girl named Xiaobei. What's worse is that they forced Xiaobei to eat spiders raw. What a terrible psychological impact that can have on a girl. No wonder the puppet Lord Spider in front of us was so resentful. I couldn't help but mutter in my mind at the sight of it. That's just cruel. But it was the mood swings caused by my mutterings. The golem Lord Spider has detected it. What kind of people are there? I didn't realize this guy's mental power was so terrifying. The golem Lord Spider saw that I was silent. 8 big feet leaping toward me. It landed directly on the car I was hiding in. Sharp claws came up and cut the car in half. I'm not afraid to do the same. A purple lightning bolt shot out from his fingertips as he dodged it. What I didn't expect was, this puppet Lord Spider's defense was so terrifying. My purple thunder didn't even hurt it. Suddenly the spider's abdomen squirmed and spewed out a mouthful of white mist. When I touched the air, the white mist immediately turned into spiders and came at me. I didn't dare to save my strength. Straight away, he took out his double-spine thunderblade and went into full battle mode. I stepped out in the face of the spider's attack and advanced instead of retreating. Because I've always believed that the best defense is a good offense. Told you so. Countless spider threads were cut off by my thunderblade. At the same time, I ignited the spider's silk with the purple heavenly thunder. Then the flames of the fire followed the spider's silk. And this fire is my defense. Fire is the Golem Lord Spider's most feared attack. The Golem Lord Spider panicked and ripped the spider silk off. But the flames were flying everywhere. The next moment, the underground parking lot was a sea of fire. The Golem Lord Spider cried out unwillingly. I had already taken the opportunity to escape. The basement was ablaze. It burned for 2.5 hours before it stopped. With the help of Emperor Thunder Jiao, I'm covered in a mist of water. It makes me immune to the flames. I can walk through the fire. The original densely packed nymphs had been reduced to ashes, and the Golem Jawmaster Spider was burned red hot. You could say it's fully cooked. There's still the aroma of meat in the air. I'm not interested in what I see. After all, this beast was turned into a human. I can't do anything like that. Instead, the dragon leaps to its feet. Maybe it's because I haven't eaten cooked food that I'm so eager. After I nodded my head, the dragon immediately jumps on the spider and feasts on it. A few moments later I found a new talent in my talent bar. Mind control. The ability to communicate with other creatures through psychic thought. Even manipulate each other's bodies. It looks like the gift works really well. But there's one thing I can't help but ponder. What is the maximum number of talents per person? After all, I wasn't much of a bully in my previous life. I'm also in a state of half-knowledge about the current mutant worlds. The campus is empty. After breaking through the glass door of the school's convenience store, so I put some food in a backpack. Compared to the meat of the beasts, I like the food of the human world even more. The next step is to find my sister at the hospital in the city. In my last life, because of my own lack of strength, I could only watch as my sister was eaten alive by the beast. I won't let that happen in this life. Soon the night will fall, swept by a dry magnetic polar storm. All electronic devices are no longer functional. I had to hike the highway to the city. I was halfway there when I noticed a man waving at me. He pulled hard on the warped door, trying to get the door open, and there was a woman inside the car who was panicking and banging on the door. I ignored the man's cries for help, because the first rule of post-apocalyptic survival, that is, don't help strangers so easily. The man's tone changed abruptly when he saw that I was still unmoved. Dude, you don't have any sympathy. But the next moment, the door slammed open. The woman in the car turned into a snake and crawled out of it. The snake's body twists and turns while sticking out its long tongue. It's like he was bragging about his kung fu before he died. And the man who was standing in front of the car door, and his body became half man, half snake. I'm surprised you didn't fall for it, kid. But you won't get eaten by us. I didn't feel the slightest fear at the sight. The female snake demon saw my nonchalant appearance. I can't help but feel alert, because the humans who got it the last few times, they all pissed themselves when they saw what they looked like. However, I just blandly replied, fool. The male snake demon who heard this was immediately infuriated. I saw the black snake's tail sweeping towards me. I didn't panic at all. Just as the snake's tail was about to hit me, I disappeared in a flash. Years of life and death. I developed an instinctive response to these things. I instantly bellowed. Just in time. I'd like to try the second rank. In the blink of an eye, he was in mimicry. At the same time, the double-spine thunder blade appeared in my hand. A cold light appeared, and the sharp blade attacked the male snake demon's face. But it ended up on a white snake's tail. There was a thud as it collided with the sturdy scales. Don't hurt my husband. The female snake demon blocked my attack and then turned to the male snake demon and said, Husband, the two of us are no match for him. Run away. I have to say, this snake demon has some brains. As soon as I struck, the female snake demon saw the difference between them and me. But the male snake demon is adamant that he won't leave. I think I'm going to be so much stronger if you eat me. And no more fear of those stinking Taoist priests and show donkeys coming after them. When the time comes, it won't be a problem to take over the entire Shanghai city. Tears streamed down from the corners of her eyes when she heard this. The hatred for humans in my heart is at its peak right now. Husband, no matter what, I'll be by your side. At the moment they think I'm the bad guy who bullied them. As the words fell, the two men's auras changed abruptly. A snake's head suddenly appeared. The bodies of the two black and white snakes steeply grew in size. He's almost 100 meters long, even though he's only at the first level. But its aura is quite a bit second order. Its full Fey form. I didn't dare to take it lightly. Summon the Thunder Jiao Emperor directly. Thunder Jiao Emperor's body is as big as a snake demon's, surrounded by purple lightning, though not the legendary golden dragon. But there are a few dragons that look like dragons. And it's not impossible to transform from a dragon to a scaly dragon, but it must be transformed into the legendary five-clawed golden dragon. The black and white python could never imagine that I had taken in the dragon. Before they could react, my thunder blade has already struck at them, and with the purple heavenly thunder, But what I didn't expect was, my purple heavenly thunder has no power over them. The sturdy scales leave only a slash in their wake. The black giant smiled contemptuously. Lightning doesn't work on us. It seems that the purple heavenly lightning has little effect on the scaly beasts. If my own purple heavenly thunder can evolve, it's not hopeless to kill a scaly beast. At this moment, the black and white pythons leaped up on the left and right. The original blood-colored night had been dimmed. Anyone else would have panicked by now, because the line of sight has completely disappeared at this moment. I don't know that I have the gift of dark cat eyes. I can see everything, no matter how dark it gets. The black and white pythons were circling me. Looks like he's trying to strangle me alive. It's a pity they overlooked my Thunder Scale Emperor. The Thunder Jiao Emperor who is treading on prancing clouds in the sky emits a dragon's roar. The next second a thunderbolt fell on the snake. Like an unstoppable thunderbolt of heavenly punishment. The black and white python bared its teeth in pain after being hit. Just this one move. I've already cut off the lives of these two pythons. I'm not happy. I'm not happy. Why is it so hard for us just to live? Unwillingly, the black and white python collapsed to the ground with a loud thud. I can't move anymore. I looked on with scorn. You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have tried to eat me, Li Qian. Master Louis, please forgive them. Thunder Jiao heard my order and started devouring immediately. Just for a moment. The pure energy just feeds back into my body. At this time the curry lock of the peak of the second order had been completely opened. The moment the breath of the third order was released, scrapped cars were lifted off the road. When I saw that, I threw a punch at the ground. A 5-meter deep pit appeared on the ground in no time. And the fists aren't half bruised. Third order. I'm finally third ranked. Then I moved on. About a minute or two into the walk, I found a husky, breathless in the back seat of a car. I'm surprised the husky hasn't changed. It's reasonable to expect a magnetic storm to sweep through. All the creatures on Aquamarine should have mutated. I'm looking for company. So I took the little husky out of it. And so I set out to find my sister again. Soon I came to a highway service area. I found a group of tattooed men in front of me. They're eyeballing a woman who's just given birth. The woman was holding the baby in her arms for dear life. My child, why did you take my baby? Unfortunately, she can't stand up to a couple of grown men on her own. The lead man kicked the woman to the ground. Then a couple of boys grabbed the baby out of her arms. I'll fight you. The woman who had been sitting on the ground, crying bitterly, immediately got up. Clenched fists rushed towards the man in black. He was stabbed in the stomach with a steel knife. The group of people next to me almost pissed themselves, let alone get up there and stop it. I'm used to the indifference of crowds. Naturally, I don't want to meddle. Then a tattooed man suddenly pointed at me. You're a kid. Get your ass over here. I'm thinking of doing more than less. He followed the tattooed man's instructions to the designated location. However, he removed the backpack from behind me. And the moment I reached in and felt around, sleeping husky wakes up and bites him. The tattooed man grimaced in pain. The rest of the boys have taken out their weapons and surrounded me. At the same time the tattooed man did not forget to remind, brothers, people can be killed, but that puppy needs to be taken alive. A change of pace for our boss. After sensing them, I realized that they were all first-order mutants. Old, young fellow, term of address used by the older generation. Hand over your puppy. Otherwise, we'll send you to hell today. In the face of the enemy's aggressiveness, I didn't panic at all. I just had a thought. A thunder dragon appeared on his back. The appearance of the thunder dragon scared a lot of the people there. And that includes the boys who surrounded me. But then you realize you're outnumbered. Boldness all of a sudden. That's when one of my boys tried to sneak up on me with a steel pipe. And it's not even close to me. He was blasted into the sky by Thunder Dragon's purple lightning sphere. Just a thud. They were blown to smithereens. And a loud noise alerted the top management of the Dragon Gang. One of the boys rushed to make a report. Master of the gang. It's no good. Outside. There's a disturbance outside. At that, Lin Yu kicked the hot pot over. The chunk of meat that looked like a human finger was kicked several meters out of the way. And this meat is actually human meat. Lin Yu was the first to discover that eating mutant beasts could increase his strength after the mutation. Of course eating humans will do that. But people don't eat their own kind. And Lin Yu knew that he couldn't beat the mutant beasts. And so they turned on their own kind. That's why there's a roadblock in the service area. And a very picky eater. Eat only babies, not older ones. At this point the perimeter of the service area. A bunch of little kalamis were shot by me one by one. Even the bodies were reduced to ashes. Just as I'm about to shell the next minion, a figure in dark blue armor appeared before my eyes. This man is the leader of the Dragon Gang, Lin Yu. This guy is a super martial artist. I didn't expect to have mastered the power of the armor in less than a day. That's why this disaster is called a mutation. It is because of the uncertainty of the direction of the mutation. That's why they call it a mutation. Some people become super martial artists and soar to great heights. From an ordinary man to a dominant force of life and death. Some mutated into mutant beasts and fell into the abyss. He's a monster that everyone wants to kill. After all, the union of beast and man is disgusting to anyone who looks at it. Compared to the ugliness of the mutant beasts, Supermarine is much better. And that's why. It's only in later times that martial artists are held in high esteem. And a psychic like me, who can draw on the power of the beast. In later times, they are all called beast masters. If the beast takes over your mind, Xingmai will eventually turn into a beast. But I always believe in honoring strength. I then unleashed my purple thunder attack on Linyu. But Linyu wasn't the least bit alarmed. Only to see him summon a shield. Just like that, he blocked my attack with ease. And not a scratch on the shield. Although my attack was a bit random. But the power of the third level is real. But this man here is able to handle it with ease. That was unexpected. Looks like this guy's level is higher than mine. I immediately went into combat mode. Linyu in his blue armor was not to be outdone either. Summon your weapons at once. Then his body twists and turns toward me. There was a metallic clatter. His attack was easily blocked by me. Seeing this, Linyu felt uneasy in his heart, hurriedly trying to draw his weapon back to keep a safe distance from me. Unfortunately, it's too late, because the moment I blocked it, I unleashed the Divine Thunderbolt. It's already drilled into Linyu's armor through conduction. Linyu collapsed on the ground in no time, and it's out of armor form. There was resignation and resentment in his eyes. Why do I have a higher rank than you? And you can beat me easily. Your rank is nothing but vanity. True strength is gained in battle. When the words fall, the thunder blade in my hand fell at the same time, instantly separating Lin Yu's head from his body. After seeing this scene, the remaining minions of the Yulong gang, they're running for their lives. They're running for their lives. Seeing this, I exclaimed, from now on, everyone in the dragon gang is my slave. If you dare to disobey my orders, you'll end up like your former boss. From now on, our name is Leilong Group. When they saw the situation, they knelt down immediately. Thank you, Master, for not killing me. We'll follow you to the end. Seeing these members of the Thunder Dragon Group in front of us, I began to calculate the plan in my mind. And that's when it happened. A boy in the crowd wearing a Shanghai University uniform stood out. He saw me looking like a college student, and he began to say, with a great deal of triumph, my dad is the president of Shanghai Real Estate. I'll pay you whatever you want to take me home. I don't want to know about your past. And you'd better not go downtown, because there's a military unit outside the eastern suburbs of Shanghai City. And I don't care if you live or die. But there are those who, after hearing my indifferent statement, instantly disagree with it. I saw a man with glasses come out from the crowd. I'm talking about you, young man. Why don't you understand anything when you're in college? You're the strongest one here now. You have an obligation to get the guys out of here and keep them safe. All of a sudden a lot of people in the crowd agreed with the man's point of view. I've even come out and accused me of it. Looks like we're going to have to make a monkey out of a chicken. In the face of questions and accusations, my answer was a sword energy made of lightning. Just for a moment, the sword energy then moved the glasses man's head home. At this moment the people present were instantly quiet and didn't dare to say anything else. Afterwards, I headed for the convenience store in the service area. The boys behind me followed me into the convenience store. When I entered, I saw a cauldron hanging over the fire. And what's cooking in this pot is a baby's palm. I almost threw up when I saw that. He ordered his men to leave. I did a head count when I was done. There's only 15 of them, including me. And 2 of them were the original masters. A little less crowded, though, but it's a lot easier for me to carry. Then I put on my superior airs. What are your powers of mutation? As soon as I asked the question, the following minions started to introduce themselves. To my dismay, these people are all beastmasters. Now there are only 2 masters left to be introduced. Master of Ceremonial Tickets. I'm Zhang Hu, former head of the White Tiger Hall of the Dragon Gang. I've awakened the White Tiger armor. Only Zhang Hu's mind moved. Then a set of white armor wrapped around Zhang Hu's body. Master of Ceremonial Tickets. I'm Wang Yu, former head of the Vermilion Bird Hall of the Dragon Gang. I awakened the Firebird armor. I can't help but be amazed at what I see. These 2 are both super martial artists. Looks like you could be my right-hand man. Zhang Hu, Wang Yu. You'll be the captains of the first and second teams of the Thunder Dragons. From now on, you're all under my command. No one can tell you what to do without my orders. Who dares to touch my men? I'll kill him even if he goes to the ends of the earth. Do you understand? At those words, everyone moved in unison. Get right down on one knee with me. We'll follow you to the end. Since then, the formation of the Thunder Dragon Group has been formalized. Since most of the people in the Thunder Dragon Group are not skilled in their own natural abilities, but after 3 days and 3 nights of my teaching, they can also summon their own weapon. The next morning, before dawn, Teams 1 and 2 of the Thunder Dragons have already assembled. Next, we'll continue on towards downtown Yamahai. Soon we were in the west end of town. As the name suggests, it's located on the west side of Yamahai City. Before the mutation, this was the Yamahai City Industrial Park, gathering thousands of migrant workers. But now it's empty. The first thing we're doing here is gathering supplies. Once inside, I ordered the 2 teams to split up, and my purpose is to observe the layout of Shanghai City. But just as I entered the Commerce Tower, the tallest building in the world, a big hand suddenly grabbed me, dragged me right out of the stairwell. It turned out to be a girl in school uniform. You want to get yourself killed? It's Bai Xiaofei's place up there. When the woman came up, she cursed angrily. I can't help but stare. Who is Bai Xiaofei? In my last life's memory, I've never heard of him. The woman saw my bewildered look and explained in a low voice. My name is Choi Suet. She's a student at Yamahai University. You look like a student at Sankai University, so I'm just reminding you. Don't go upstairs. If you cause White Xiaofei's displeasure, then you'll end up in a terrible situation. She also asked me if I'd be interested in joining them. You can go out and scavenge for supplies to give to Bai Xiaofei. The rest they're free to distribute. From the other person's questioning, I realized that the other guy was very afraid of the white dash upstairs. It seems that the other party has also mastered the ability after the body mutation. I decided to take one step at a time so as not to alarm anyone. So I told her my name. Soon I was led to a room by Trixie. There's someone else sitting in there. This is Li Qian. I'll be fighting with you all from now on. Facing the introduction of Choi Suet, the others showed a look of impatience. The stocky man was the first to stand up, with a look of indifference. Let me be clear. If you're in danger, I'm not going to save him. Seeing this, Choi Suet patted her chest and assured her, please don't worry. I'm perfectly capable of protecting my little brother. The burly man then clapped his hands together. Everybody pack up. We'll leave in a few minutes. This self-labeling is Wang Fujing Supermarket. Soon I was on the road with them. The burly man walked ahead to open the way. His gift should be some kind of power gift. Muscle bulge in both hands. With one punch, he sent the mutant in his way flying. It could be seen that this lanky man's level had already reached the second stage. You can reach the second level in just a few days. It's not just anyone. On the way, Trixie told me about them. It turns out that this burly man's name is Li Yong. He used to be an underground boxer. I'm usually indifferent to people, but he'll come through when it counts. With Li Yong's strong start, less than 2.5 minutes, we finally arrived at Wang Fujing Supermarket. It's a mega mart. It can be said that any item on the globe, you can find them all at Wang Fujing Supermarket. And the moment we pushed open the door, suddenly a shrill voice rang out. The next second, a snow-white, canine beast is coming at us. It's bigger than a full-grown lion, and it's incredibly fast. Li Yong, who was walking in front, didn't react for a while. The canine behemoth crossed him in an instant. The sharp claws were about to slice through the cheek of one of the women in the group. Just in the nick of time, a lean man's figure shifted, bursting with speed faster than a canine behemoth. A punch lands to the midsection of Fei. The beast immediately slammed heavily into the ground. Trisha introduced me again. This skinny man's name is Zhu Yoji, formerly an athlete. But Zhu Yoji started taunting me. It's a good thing I'm here. Otherwise, it would have been a total loss. Not like someone who has to hide behind a woman. Li Yong solved the beast with one punch. Then he turned his head to warn Zhu Yoji. That's enough. Since we're all together now, then we need to get the job done. I don't want to hear any more about disunity. Zhu Yoji didn't dare to speak out again. After all, Li Yong's rank was a serious second-order one. He's only at the top of the first rank. Naturally, I don't dare to disobey Li Yong. Less than 5 minutes. The first floor was cleared of the beasts. Li Yong immediately divided the work among us. I've been assigned to find medicine, and Trish is looking for meat. Soon I was on the 4th floor where the medicines were kept. The shelves above are densely packed with various medications, though the human body is mutated. But these drugs still play a part. According to the list provided by Li Yong, I quickly put the medicine into an empty backpack. It turned out to be just as easy for me to take the medicine while observing the neighborhood of the supermarket. A mournful scream came, though we spent only a short time with them. But this voice I won't forget. That's definitely Tracy's voice. When I saw this, I immediately ran toward the first floor where Cui Shui was. By the time I got there, I found Trixie passed out on the floor. Li Yong and the others were also scared and shivering. Fixing his eyes on it, it was actually a 3-meter-high stinky rat king. Damp and putrid smells emanated from that giant rat, and the entire building was filled with this stench. If it wasn't for my higher rank, I'm afraid I would have fainted already, Li Qian secretly said alone. He looked down the hall. Cui Shui at the moment felt her thighs getting heavier and heavier and her head getting heavier and heavier. With a flutter, she could no longer support herself and fell to the ground and fainted. However, she was not the only one in the same situation as her. There was also Zhu Yoji, as well as Li Yong, only that Li Yong was in a slightly better state than them. He braced himself and tried to carry Zhu Yoji and Cui Shui to escape together, but unfortunately, the two muscular arms seemed to have no strength at all. No matter how hard he tried, he could never lift the two. That's right, the Rat King's body was emitting the very poisonous gas, a poisonous gas that could make people soft and weak. Brother Yong, Yu Ji. That enchanting woman, as if nothing was wrong at all, tried to call out to her companions at the 5th floor to wake them up. Seeing that no one answered, she then hurriedly ran downwards. Unfortunately, the Rat King in front of her did not give her the chance to save her teammates. Squeak! That giant Rat King, its body shook, and tens of thousands of juvenile rats fell from its body. They went crazy and headed towards the 3 people who were paralyzed on the ground, like a wave that rolled up high and unstoppable. It was only at this moment that Li Qian realized that the enchanting woman's talent should be a healing type of talent, otherwise with her first rank, she would have definitely been stunned by the poisonous gas of the giant rats. It definitely wouldn't be as easy and comfortable as it is now. Looking at the rats that were like a tidal wave, the woman was anxious in her heart, but it was a pity that she didn't have any fighting ability. Just at this moment, a person she had never thought of before stood out. Ah, get out of the way, get out of the way. Zhu Yoji, who was paralyzed on the ground, his hands kept picking up the rats on his body then throwing them aside. The enchanting woman who rushed down from upstairs, her pupils crinkled in horror as she looked at Zhu Yoji and followed her gaze. At this moment, Zhu Yoji was wrapped up in thousands of rats, countless black rats converging on his body as he stumbled and stood up as if he was a humanoid rat. The black rats were all over his body, gnawing on him with impunity. With a click, a piece of flesh on his face was torn off. 3 or 5 rats shared it, then 5 or 6 pitch black rats, their sharp teeth pushed together, and with a bang a bone broke, and an arm was removed. The bright red blood, as if stimulating the army of rats, they became more excited, sucking the blood on the ground. As the blood entered the mouth, they cackled unanimously, as if it was a signal. They all headed towards Zhu Yoji's wound. In the blink of an eye, the army of rats went from the wounds, into Zhu Yoji's carapace, and the gnawing sound inside the quiet mansion was unusually harsh. Zhu Yoji didn't even have the time to make a miserable sound before he turned into a white bone. Yu Ji, you. The woman looked at the scene in front of her incredulously. The army of rats finished off Zhu Yoji like locusts crossing the border, and in front of them were the 2 of them, Cui Shui and Li Yong, and they proceeded to come towards the 2 of them. The strongly braced Li Yong witnessed everything that had just happened, and in his heart, he could not help but feel a sense of sorrow for the rabbit's death. Although the 2 of them had only been together for a short period of 2 or 3 days, they had also formed a deep bond after sharing life and death several times. Yu Ji. With tears in his eyes, Li Yong strongly endured the negative effects brought about by the Rat King and swung out punch after punch, smashing the approaching rat army on the ground into mush. The hordes of rat hordes just left a gaping hole before converging around his fists again. With a scuffling sound, one of the rats jumped onto his face, revealing 2 sharp teeth and biting down so hard that the bones of his face shattered at once. Ah, it hurts. Li Yong did not hesitate to grab this rat on his face. The muscles at his arm rippled, and with a fierce force the rat in his hand burst open like a watermelon, and his hand was stained with blood. In a flash, he saw Li Qian and the woman rush down the stairs, coming towards his side. He punched the front of the rat army hammer pulp, slightly blocking the pace of the rat army. Taking advantage of this opening, he endured the sharp pain caused by the pull on his face and shouted, "Swallow and little brother, you guys come and drag Cui Shui away. You guys don't need to worry about me. I'll take the rear. A 3rd-ranked rat king, it's not something you guys can deal with. You guys quickly go." His voice echoed throughout the entire supermarket, and the Rat King, who had not moved for a long time, suddenly had a light in his eyes, as if he had withdrawn his playfulness in an instant. Cackle! With a shout, the army of rats got the order and immediately stopped attacking, instantly turning their direction to return to the Rat King. Thud! The Rat King stood straight, like a walking man, with blood-red eyes, staring at Li Yong in front of him. Looking at the tall Rat King, Li Yong gulped down his saliva with a gurgle. The wound on his face couldn't stop bleeding, but looking at the Rat King in front of him, even the perception of pain was forgotten. The mutant beast in front of him is something he has never seen before. In terms of height alone, the Rat King is at least 5 meters high, and then look at its body is bigger than his own. No matter how you compare yourself, you will definitely lose, but if you don't go up and hold back the Rat King, there is no way for everyone to live. In his heart, he hoped that Li Qian and Yan Zi, would take Cui Shui away as soon as possible, so that he could fight without fear. Bang bang! Li Yong, who had made up his mind, whirled around and utilized his talent to the extreme. The muscles of his arms bulged rapidly, making a dull ringing sound, and his arms were even bigger than a human being. With an arrow step, Li Yong came in front of the Mouse King and raised his fist like lightning. The wind of his fist slightly reverberated, like a wild storm. Boom! The Rat King did not even dodge, solidly ate a punch, teasingly looking at Li Yong underneath. A punch won. Li Yong was first incomparably excited, turned to surprise, and finally turned into gloomy disappointment. A third rank, is it really untouchable? Looking straight at his fist in disbelief, he looked at what was in front of him, and thought in his heart with even more despair. Just now, he had exerted his best to strike, and had even disregarded his own body, but when it landed on the third-ranked Rat King, it had no effect at all. Before the mutation, he was at least an underground boxing matchboxer, and his mastery of force could be said to be pure. The punch just now, even if it is 100 battle-hardened boxing veteran, it is impossible to withstand that punch just now. There is only one result, and that is the bones broken on the spot death. But in front of the Rat King, but not the slightest trace of injury, and look at the Rat King's eyes with a hint of contempt. A sense of despair surged from the bottom of Li Yong's heart, and he shouted again without looking back. You guys hurry up, faster, I can hold out for another minute at most. The voice was loud, but there was still a hint of despair in the voice, which Li Qian and Yan Zi could feel. The two of them hurriedly came to the first floor, and there was still a distance from where Cui Shui was, when they heard Li Yong's desperate yell in front of them. At this moment, the Mouse King was enjoying this moment, watching the human's body die and parting. It had an inexplicable happiness. With two sharp claws, it gently lifted Li Yong. His legs kept stomping around, but unfortunately it was of no use at all. The Mouse King carefully sized up Li Yong, saw the despair and fear in his heart, and couldn't help but laugh out loud. Ha, humans are nothing more than that. Once how you treated me, now I will treat you with interest. The life in the sewers, I'm already sick of it. Since the heavens have given us, the Rat Clan, a chance to be reborn, then I'll rule you humans properly. All the sins that you humans have committed against us, I will let you all be punished as you are. Then today, starting with the 5 of you, I'll let you see the wrath of the Rat Clan. The huge rat, suddenly able to speak like a human, immediately frightened Yanzi and Li Yong. Normally, none of the mutant beasts they had seen the most were able to spit out human words. The Rat King's other claw slid and one of Li Yong's arms fell off. With the drilling pain, Li Yong couldn't help but scream, and hearing Li Yong scream, the Rat King became even more excited. It was about to abuse Li Yong like humans usually abused rats, and immediately, Li Yong was like a toy. His limbs were removed, leaving a body alone. The original limbs were bleeding, and several times Li Yong fainted from the pain, but was woken up by the Rat King, which made his life worse than death. I don't know how long it took before the Rat King finally got tired of playing, and threw Li Yong out, smashing heavily on the floor of the 5th floor. Li Yong gagged on the spot. The Rat King then touched Cui Shui's position again, but was stopped in its path by a purple lightning. Suddenly 2 purple thunderbolts, intercepting the path of the Rat King's advance, smashed the floor open with a bang into 2 huge pits, which shows how terrifying the power of these 2 lightning balls of light is. Even the third-ranked Rat King did not dare to take this blow with his flesh. The Rat King's gaze couldn't help but turn to the unassuming teenager in front of him, only to see 2 long dragons poking out from behind that skinny body, with their whiskers fluttering and blinking their eyes, as if they were one with the teenager. From the skinny teenager, the Mouse King saw an unknown danger. Suddenly, the teenager's body moved. At the teenager's hands there were 2 purple arcs of electricity crossing. On its body there were scales covering layers of scales, protecting the teenager. Li Qian took an arrow step and came to the Rat King's front. The double-spined thunderblade was danced by him with several sword blossoms. The sword flower was eye-catching and came towards the right side of the Rat King. Seeing the thunderblade close, the Rat King's sharp claws slapped downwards. Bang! The sword flower immediately disappeared. Heavy force Li Qian almost could not catch. See, the situation is not good, then immediately retreat to the back. Strength is no match for the other side. It seems that we can only win by force. Li Qian thought so. Swallow hurriedly ran to Cui Shui's body, utilizing her natural skill to heal Cui Shui, and looked at Li Qian, who was fighting with the Rat King, in surprise. How could he be so powerful? Even the captain and Zhu Yoji both died in the hands of this big rat, just a college student, fighting it. Could it be that I underestimated him? Just now he was just a newcomer. Yen recalled the scene just now when Li Qian had just joined them and looked incredulously at Li Qian, who was fighting the Rat King in front of her. Kid, I admit that you have some strength, but that's about it. After a few rounds, the Rat King didn't even manage to get half an advantage in Li Qian's hands. Immediately, it shouted angrily, shaking its body. Thousands of rats' army, under his command, pounced on Li Qian at an extremely fast speed. Vastly, like an endless army, it surrounded the entire interior of the supermarket. Li Qian inserted the double-spine thunder blade back into his back and immediately transformed into 2 giant dragons with purple scales all over their bodies again. The giant dragons opened their mouths, and a ball of light condensed from purple thunderbolts smashed into the rat army with a bang, and many rats were immediately hit. The smell of burning rose as lightning traveled throughout the rats, and a batch of rats were electrocuted to the ground. The Rat King angrily looked at everything in front of him, and with a roar, he jumped up from his original position, his sharp claws stabbing towards Li Qian's. The huge body jumped up, the whole supermarket building trembled, the vibration rumbled, some of the old and dilapidated places, and even fell off the ceiling. Cui Shui was quickly awakened from unconsciousness under Yan's rescue, and in a daze, she saw a huge rat pouncing in front of Li Qian. At this moment, Li Qian could not avoid it. The situation was very critical. Cui Shui's heart was in her throat. She couldn't help but yell out, "Li Qian, run!" Only to see Li Qian yell, "Thunder Jiao Emperor!" And suddenly there was a high-pitched sound of a dragon's roar within the supermarket building. At the same time, it was accompanied by rolling thunder, and purple lightning illuminated the entire inside of the building. With its sharp 4 claws, it kicked the Mouse King backwards, and the Mouse King was knocked back dozens of steps in a moment. And the body also felt a burst of electric numbness. If it is not their own skin and flesh is relatively thick, I am afraid that now they have been electrocuted cooked. The Rat King did not dare to imagine. The heart has sprouted the intention to retreat. In front of this teenager is not it can deal with itself. The idea of running away is becoming more and more determined. The army of rats that had suffered heavy losses still rushed towards Li Qian without a mind, as well as the giant dragon behind him continued to shell, and soon the ground was left with uncountable rat corpses. Li Qian only felt pity. His heart silently recited devour. The Thunder Jiao Emperor suspended above him then opened its mouth wide and devoured all the mutated small rats on the ground. The moment he entered the Thunder Jiao's mouth, Li Qian felt a few more points of energy in his body. As the energy climbed, his rank crossed from the middle of the 3rd rank to the early 4th rank in one step. His body was undergoing a subtle change. The illusory spirit armor that he was wearing was gradually turning into a golden color at this moment. Gradually, it coalesced into imperial armor, a unique heavenly power, as if it was in one's hands. I didn't expect that I actually have a super martial form, and the super martial is still the legendary Heaven's Tao Armor Emperor's armor. Li Qian looked at his changes with surprise, not expecting that while he was an imperial beastmaster, he was actually a possessor of the ultra martial armor. If the super martial armor was one of the few lucky ones, then someone like Li Qian who awakened 2 directions of ability was even more of the lucky ones. Perhaps it was impossible to find a second one in the entire aquamarine planet. Li Qian, who had mastered 2 kinds of power, had an extremely complicated mood at this moment. While celebrating his awakening of the super martial armor, he was also worried about the 2 different directions of power, whether they would clash or whether his body could withstand the 2 different forces. Suddenly, a woman's voice rang out, interrupting Li Qian's thinking. "Li Qian, don't let it escape. Avenge Brother Li and the others." Oh. Seeing the Rat King trying to escape, Cui Shui hurriedly reminded the dazed Li Qian. Li Qian came back to his senses, no longer delving into that question just now. Since he didn't know, he would take one step at a time. He wasn't the kind of brat who was scared by the future. Worrying about this and that, then one doesn't even need to live. "Kid, you let me go. In the future we don't know each other, okay?" Seeing Li Qian who was about to act, the Mouse King hurriedly spoke out to persuade him. The change in Li Qian just now, it had seen it in its eyes, that aura that had suddenly increased by a notch. The current one was unable to fight against it. The only correct thing to do was to stabilize this teenager in front of him first, and then wait for an opportunity to escape. The Mouse King had already made a calculation in its heart. As long as Li Qian let go, it would use the opportunity to escape. Unfortunately, Li Qian was originally a man of few words and simply ignored it. Zen seal. Li Qian choked his hands and time seemed to have stopped. The Rat King only felt that its movements became very slow and looked at Li Qian in front of it in shock, not expecting the other party to have such a trick. Li Qian didn't wait for it to figure it out, and instantly twisted his belt. A sword appeared in the void, the exclusive weapon of the Emperor's armor, Aurora Sword. In the blink of an eye, the Aurora Sword carried the majesty of the heavenly Tao and penetrated through the Rat King's body. With a bang, the Rat King was sealed in 2-dimensional space and turned into a card suspended in the air. Receiving the card, Li Qian put it into his belt. Instantly the card disappeared and the shadow of the Rat King appeared within the belt. The belt's Taiji pattern rotated, the Rat King disappeared and the pure energy entered Li Qian's body again. He found that this Emperor armor of his seemed to be able to be upgraded once more. Within the Taiji Bagua of the Emperor's belt, there were 5 vacant positions, and those 5 positions corresponded to the 5 elements. The 5 pairs of armor in his body were always in a sealed state, from which Li Qian judged that he needed to find the corresponding elemental crystals in order to unseal the corresponding armor. These 5 pairs of armor were the legendary 5 elements armor, the fire element's Inferno Dragon armor, the wood element's Wind Eagle armor, the gold element's Snow Mastiff armor, the water element's Black Rhinoceros armor, and the earth element's Earth Tiger armor. Look at its upgrade route, all converge on the Emperor armor. It seems that the Emperor armor upgrade conditions is to unseal 5 vice 5 elements armor and upgrade it. But this elemental crystals, where to get them? And what is the upgrade form of this 5 elements armor? Li Qian was puzzled. Even if he became a super martial artist, he didn't expect that his armor could be upgraded again. This was no longer simply a step ahead of others. Rather, it was a great chance that was blessed by heaven. Even if it was a supreme heavenly pride, it could not compare to Li Qian's chance. Moreover, he was not only able to evolve his armor, his talent was also able to evolve, and it was unknown to what extent the talent would evolve. Li Qian, how could you be so strong? Cui Shui stepped forward, circling around Li Qian in a circle, her eyes from top to bottom, not sparing any place, carefully surveying the unfamiliar Li Qian in front of her. The armor gradually came off on Li Qian's body. The Li Qian hidden within the armor revealed his true face. He stared at Cui Shui as if nothing had happened as well. Just now, in a moment of crisis, I suddenly had an epiphany, then raised a level. Li Qian just said indifferently. Alas, it's only a pity for Big Brother Li and Big Brother Zhu. In just a few hours, we lost 2 people. How can we go back and explain to Boss Bai? For the sacrifice of Zhu Yoji and Li Yong, Cui Shui felt regret in her eyes, but in her heart was more fear for Bai Xiaofei. They came out on this mission, all of them had certain mission requirements, what kind of materials to collect, how many quantities, that were all dead goals. If they couldn't accomplish it, then they would surely be punished. What can be done about this? Without the antidote given by Big Brother Bai, how can we safely spend the night? Yanzi, who was on the side, couldn't help but tremble as she thought of the inhuman pain at night. As strong as the muscular Li Yong, he couldn't even withstand the pain that Bai Xiaofei brought. Yanzi didn't think she could withstand the pain. Just as the 3 of them were in a stalemate, suddenly crisp gunshots rang out on the street. A few thumps rang out, followed by a few thumps of an object falling to the ground. Li Qian's trio came to the glass of the building in time, controlling their voices and observing the situation of the street through the glass. In Cui Shui and Yanzi's eyes, they only saw a spot of fire in the dark street across the street, followed by several black figures falling to the ground. The talent of Dark Knight Cat Pupil, Li Qian used it to the extreme at this moment. Li Qian couldn't clearly see the face of the person who shot him. The person's face seemed to have a thickened mosaic, and only a pair of hands were seen in the pitch-black alley. In his eyes, he only saw a blurred figure. Both hands gripped the pistol tightly and pulled the trigger without hesitation. Bullets came out of the blackened muzzle and ran through the monster in front of him. The monster stood upright with its hands, its legs stiff and straight as it hopped towards the man. Its face, including its entire body, was covered in a number of rotting wounds. The aura of death emanated from its body, as if it was an undead coming from hell. But he was indeed an undead, only a kind of dead thing called ginger. Eyes darted about, the fangs in his mouth were so sharp that they refracted light, and the nails at his fingers all made a buzzing sound that cut through the air as they bounced forward. That person's position was exactly the position of the City Patrol Division, and Li Qian's thoughts drifted to the history of Shanghai City. Due to his part-time job as a tour guide, Li Qian knew more or less about the history of the development of Shanghai City. Among the rumors, this area opposite Wang Fujing Supermarket was originally intended for real estate development, a residential land. Instead of the current commercial land, its developer, during the excavation and construction of the land, an extremely bizarre thing happened, causing the developer to decide to default on the spot and no longer develop this place. The Shanghai municipal government at the time blocked this bizarre incident very tightly. If Li Qian had not repeatedly studied and investigated the old people involved, he would have known the inside story of this incident. Originally, Li Qian did not believe in it, and told other tourists about it as a legend, and Li Qian became a popular tour guide because of it. However, now Li Qian has a few moments of belief in his heart. This incident happened on a certain day 10 years ago. It was pouring rain that day, and the sky was covered with dark clouds, as if it was going to collapse, to envelop the entire Shanghai city in it. Quickly! Flatten the hill in front of me! Manager Wang Fu, braving the pouring rain, commanded several large excavators. The villagers of Wang Jiazwang in front of them were too unreasonable, and had already stopped their construction several times. Obviously their own side have been approved by the government of Shanghai. The villagers are still disturbing, not to their side of the construction. Good thing today under heavy rainstorm, the villagers will go home to hide from the rain to go, take advantage of the time they can seize the construction. What is there to worship in this broken temple? Not even a clay statue, and I don't know which way the gods are. Bah, this society I only believe, my own hands, also only these ignorant villagers will believe in these pretentious things. You guys, this temple doesn't need to be demolished. The excavator directly dig for me, one morning to dig this small hill to me flat. Wearing a white cap, Wang Fu, his finger gently pointed to the hill in front of him that was about 500 or 600 meters high, and in 2 or 3 sentences, he gave a life and death order to it. The few workers in front of them, nodding their heads, all replied in unison, "Okay, Mr. Wang, we will definitely complete the task." Behind that hill was the Wang family village, and the current patrol city division was built on top of the original site of the hill. Rumbling, dozens of excavators let out a beastly roar, unanimously advancing towards the hill. In front of the steel torrent, the hill in front of them couldn't be blocked at all, and only had the fate of being slaughtered. The sky lightning and thunder, the wind whistles and blows, blowing people backward, but dozens of yellow excavators, rumbling caused by the sound is even louder, as if to compare with the lightning in the sky. Against the wind so advance, God cannot compare to the steel machine. The rain is getting bigger and bigger, rain like bullets falling from high altitude, in an attempt to stop the barbaric acts of mankind. Unfortunately, the humans didn't seem to grasp the meaning at all, and the dirt of the hill was dug up layer by layer. The secret of 1,000 years was in the center of the hill, and it was just brought back to earth without measure. Village chief is bad, the coffin-locking mountain is still destroyed by them. A teenager wearing a Taoist green shirt dropped the umbrella in his hands, not even shaking the dirt off his shoes. The teenager didn't even knock on the door before barging in. If it was in normal times, he wouldn't dare to be so adventurous. The village head Wang Baoxin is an extremely traditional people. For the etiquette of what is extremely important, if a little out of the ordinary behavior, that can have to suffer. Wearing a green tang suit, sitting in front of the tea table, the village head will pick up the cup of tea to sip on the mouth. In front of the TV set came from the sound of the opera. Jingkong Shaman, the fall of the Central Plains, learning military strategy to learn martial arts. Courage Primrose, 100 riders to the Shangzhou thieves captured, the show of great promise to hold a sword and look out of the six. The rock spreads its wings to the sky, vowed to regain the mountains and rivers. Is listening to the rise. The village head Wang Baoxin heard outside the courtyard there are noisy sounds, then came from the lobby clanging loud push the door, and then the clothes rubbing sound. The person walking speed is very fast, for fear of slowing down. Village chief. It's not good, it's a big deal. Teenager Wang, who huffed and puffed and gasped for breath, just back from the village, he hoofed it to the village chief's home. Not a moment's delay, finally came to the village chief's home. See Wang, who can't come up for air appearance, sitting in the chair of Wang Baoxin, can't help but born a trace of anger, tone of indifference said. Wang Hu, usually how does the master teach you? I don't care what you learn outside, in the Wang family as well as in front of me, the piece of etiquette cannot be absent. Society was changing rapidly. Wang Baoxin thought that he had already conceded a lot. He only cared about two things, and that was his disciples' skills and etiquette. Many young people in the Wang family went out to wander, after returning to the village to their elders without respect. Do things are not big and small, etiquette is lost. Wang Baoxin is the most disgusted. Especially, that mixed out of the personal appearance of Wang Fu. Do nothing big and small also, even if, actually also led people to demolish the village. This month makes Wang Baoxin is really a headache. Master, this time really something big happened. Locked Coffin Mountain was destroyed by Wang Fu with people. Seeing Wang Baoxin posing as a master lecturing his disciple, Wang Hu whirled around with a more and more respectful attitude, slightly bending his waist, once again loudly reminding his master. For Wang Baoxin he is respected from the bottom of his heart, a lone person, but guarding the Wang family home for more than 50 years, there has not been a mistake, sealed in the mountain things, but also not a trace of cracking the seal. Bang! The teacup fell to the ground, instantly broken into several pieces scattered on the ground. Wang Baoxin dumbfounded, still gasping for breath. Wang Hu, dazed and confused, it was difficult to believe his disciple's words, slightly wriggling his mouth, then sharply returned. Impossible, how could they move the earth without my consent? I have communicated with the Shanghai municipal government, and will talk for at least 2 more months before deciding on whether or not to develop the Wang family home. Wang Hu, where did you hear this news? Combined with the previous experience, Wang Baoxin really cannot believe what Wang Hu said. After all, the meeting a few days ago was not for show. Shanghai city's leaders personally promised him. How could the next day without notifying himself to start the construction? Breath gradually smoothed out, tone firm and unquestionable, Wang Hu affirmed, Master, I just came back from outside, witnessed the process of them moving the earth, and now the ceiling formations are all estimated to have been completely destroyed. With a sound of miso, Wang Baoxin stood up from his chair and stared at Wang Hu with a scrutinizing gaze, analyzing every word Wang Hu said. If what Wang Hu said was true, then things were not simple. How dare they? Wang Hu, quickly fetch my Dao robe and magic weapon and come with me to the coffin-locking mountain. Realizing the seriousness of the matter, Wang Baoxin immediately made up his mind to head to the coffin-locking mountain. Receiving his master's order, Wang Hu skillfully went to a room and took out the things that Wang Baoxin needed, and just like that, the master and disciple duo headed to the coffin-locking mountain. At this moment, the dark clouds are getting heavier and heavier. The sky feels like it is going to be crushed, and the heavy rain is also pouring down non-stop. It feels like it is going to vent out the anger in their hearts. Locked Coffin Mountain in the rain, under the wash, in the mountain to form red mud, along the gully flow down the mountain. Construction environment can be said to be very dangerous. But the leader's request is greater than this bad weather. No one dares to disobey the manager Wang Fu. Here he is the biggest. Oldly, what's that? The excavator dug the half circle of dirt clean, and under the rain, a dirt wall collapsed. Suddenly, one of the workers saw the exposed half of a pitch-black object. The rainwater hit it and washed away the sticky soil, half of the body. The knowledgeable Oldly already had the answer in his mind. That's the black coffin. Go inform Manager Wang quickly. Oldly pointed at the blackened wooden coffin that was half exposed and gave his solution again. The unearthed coffin meant that there should be a large cemetery nearby, which would most likely contain artifacts. In this case, a worker by himself would definitely not be able to make a decision, and could only hand the problem over to the manager. Manager Wang, a blackened wooden coffin was found on the east side of the mountain. May I ask if we should continue? Manager Wang, a lacquered black wooden coffin was found on the west side of the mountain. May I ask if we should continue? Manager Wang, a pitch-black wooden coffin was found on the north side of the mountain. May I ask if we should continue? Inconsistently, a dozen workers came to Wang Fu at the same time to report their construction status. From their mouths, Wang Fu, however, realized that they were actually all in the same situation, and was a bit guilty in his heart. Why were there black wooden coffins? And the situation they encountered was still the same? Since he was a child, he had never even heard that there were so many coffins buried in this hillock. Could it be that there are really cultural relics? Not managing the task explained by the boss is the most important. This morning, must level this mountain. I would like to see what is buried. Thinking of this, Wang Fu, direct orders, told the workers to dig out the coffins inside. Soon, a set of black coffins was piled up to an open space, arranged neatly. There are 64 coffins. Wang Fu looked for a long time, but did not see the question. The female secretary who held the umbrella for him, but covered her nose extremely disgusted away from the coffins. Mr. Wang, what's there to see? We might as well go back. Literally do our line of work to be able to avoid evil spirits. Look at these 64 coffins. The paint on the surface is shiny, the wood doesn't have a trace of decay, as if they have just been buried. The situation is extremely strange, something I've never seen before, although I don't believe in ghosts and gods either. It's better not to mess with them. Wang Fu said in an inscrutable manner, while the secretary listened with adoration. At this moment Wang Fu was bursting with satisfaction, and then he gave an order that he regretted. Xin Lao, these coffins, in my opinion, I'm afraid it's not that simple. Living in the Wang family village since I was a child, I haven't even heard my elders say that there are coffins buried within this hill. I don't know this wooden coffin. What is its function? Can you answer for me, old Qin? Manager Wang Fu, slightly bending low, his tone extremely respectful, asked the old man surnamed Qin beside him. The old man in front of him was named Qin Yuqing, a feng shui master specially hired by the group company, who had solved major crises for the group. Group bosses see the old man in front of them, that are respectful, the usual arrogance are converged a lot. As for the manager Wang Fu, is not dare to offend the immediate Qin Yuqing. This kind of master-level characters, in the country is difficult to find. And his own manager's position, can apply for a few people, but master-level Qin Yuqing is only a few. How many kilograms he had, Wang Fu, was still clear about it. There are 64 coffins, with the medieval artifacts as the suppressor, and there are actually blood-red inscriptions on the surface of the coffins. It is really the first time in my life that I have seen it. Qin Yuqing's hand rubbed the blood-colored lines on the wooden coffin boards, and the lines on the entire coffin, coming from all directions, converged on the coffin lid. On top of its coffin lid was a diagram of the human body's structure, with blood-red lines converging onto the 8 strange meridians on the human body, forming a diagram of the human body's meridians. Eyes flowing, Qin Yuqing seemed to have thought of something, withdrawing his gaze and turning to look at the 64 coffins, elaborating slyly. Shin is the sky, Kun is the earth, Sun is the wind, Jin is the thunder, Ken is the water, Lei is the fire, Burgundy is the mountain, Dui is the zephyr. The 8 wonders make up the 8 trigrams, and the combination of 2 and 2 form the 64 trigrams. The 64 hexagrams, corresponding to exactly 64 coffins. The person who set up the array can be described as bold, dare to use the gossip as an array suppression. The Dao line is absolutely extremely high. Cannot help but praise the array of people. Qin Yuqing eyes are full of admiration. Their own out of the mountain and small and large have done a lot of great things. But compared with the person who set up the formation in front of him, he is still a child who is talking and learning to walk in Handan, and he is not at the same level at all. More powerful than Mr. Qin? What kind of existence is that? Hearing the extremely respected Mr. Qin's evaluation, Wang Fu looked at the other party with surprise. The extremely high level of Mr. Qin is inferior to himself. Wang Fu can hardly imagine how powerful the high-level person who set up this formation is. I am afraid that joining the dynasty as a state teacher would be a breeze. Qin Yuqing nodded his head, and then spoke in an extremely solemn tone. That's right, I am not comparable to him at all. For the construction of the project, I think it's prudent to be a little bit more cautious, or to ask the people of the Wangjia village if they understand this formation. Wang Fu's eyes hesitated, and finally said truthfully, is the situation that serious? But after these coffins were dug out, I gave the order to speed up the excavation. The tone of his voice was tinged with hindsight but helplessness, as he had already given the order before Qin Yuqing arrived. As expected, the exchange between the two was broken in a loud shout. An employee wearing a red cap ran straight over while yelling loudly, Manager Wang, big deal, we dug out another coffin. Oh no, it should be a sarcophagus. That employee was panting, so it was good that he had articulated the problem clearly and would not be criticized by the leader again. Wang Fu and Qin Yuqing, two people, coincidentally looked to the employee, the heart is thumped feel bad, then did not care about the rain, they went to the side of a line. Accompanied by two people, hurriedly follow the footsteps for the two of them to play umbrellas. At the moment the torrential rain is still falling, the thunder rumbles loudly. At this time the workers have stopped their hands, have gathered around, curious to look at the sarcophagus placed in the center. The material of the sarcophagus, how come I haven't seen it at all? Could it be an antique? A knowledgeable teacher, observing the stone material on the sarcophagus from afar, with his understanding of stone, he only needs to take a look, he can judge what kind of stone material is in front of him. However, the sarcophagus placed in the center was completely beyond his cognitive scope, it was an extremely novel material. Old Fong, isn't it true that he's been to the Lagoon Fire store too many times lately, and everything he sees looks like an antique, right? The worker next to him, who was in his 30s, revealed a bad smile that only a man would understand. Seeing his co-worker poking fun, Old Fong just smiled awkwardly, indeed he is quite short of money recently, and immediately diverted the attention of the other party. Recently, Old Ma, on the contrary, lost a lot of money. Where is the old horse? In the next second, Old Fong looked straight at the scene in front of him, mortar and pestle in place as if he had lost his soul. Only in his eyes, there was a stumbling figure, walking towards the sarcophagus in the center, muttering under his breath. What bullshit taboo, I'm going to take these antiques to sell money, play one last time, I don't believe I can't get my money back this time. Before going to work today, Old Ma drank some white wine, thinking to eliminate the troubles of the past few days. Last night all his wealth was lost in one night, that frustration made him almost have no hope to live. Until he saw the sarcophagus in front of him, a bold idea was formed in his mind, so he stumbled towards the sarcophagus with the intention of drinking. When the sarcophagus appeared, there were bound to be expensive funerary items, and it was these funerary items that he had his eyes on, which was why he wanted to go up and check it out. Under the crowd of spectators, he slowly walked to the front of the sarcophagus, rough and cracked fingers, a hand to tear off the red rope on the sarcophagus. Suddenly, a bitterly cold wind blew, and the rain that fell carried a piercing feeling of freezing, and the old horse's alcohol was dissipated for a few moments. He froze, hand movements have stopped, is hesitant to open, but think of the last night suffered from the nuisance, he instantly movements began to become sharp again. Layers of wrapped red threads, was torn off one after another, as the last seal, it was completely destroyed. The lid of the sarcophagus was slowly pushed open, the old horse hurriedly poked out his head, eyes carefully scanning the situation inside. Inside, however, it was empty, only a stone tablet with no text whatsoever was inside. The old horse was immediately angry, spit a mouthful of spittle inside, reached out and took out the stone tablet inside, while cursing. His grandmother, buried a piece of broken stone, but also so battle, also thought it was a piece of treasure, really angry me. The crowd were all surprised to see the scene of the drama in front of them, the thing covered so tightly was actually a stone tablet. Unbelievable expression on the face of the crowd, but only after a fleeting moment, the next second expression stiff, eyes filled with fear. Only to see the old horse with his hands carrying the stone tablet, his face became whiter and whiter, his skin was aging at an extremely fast speed, and his body was drying up. The blood on his body turned into a small bead of liquid that seeped out from his body, and then it turned into a red torrent that headed towards the stone monument. The stone monument flooded with red light and rotated, and then the blood was poured into the monument, like a pumping machine to drain the old horse's blood. In the blink of an eye, all the people present fled behind them in fear, and an unprecedented crisis completely broke out. What the hell is this? How did my voice become so old? Old Ma's body was drying up at a speed visible to the naked eye, and he threw the stone tablet in his hand on the ground in panic. Unfortunately, it didn't work at all, the stone tablet was still draining his blood. His voice became hoarse, his hands panicked as he felt around for changes on his body, his almost 200-pound body was now drying up into a bamboo pole, and I'm afraid he didn't even weigh 30 pounds. The moment the blood drained away, the old horse only felt as if there were thousands of tiny silver needles sticking in the pores of his body, itchy and painful. Not long after, the blood drained away and he fainted on the ground, and then from the nameless stone monument, a black mist emerged. The black mist enveloped Old Ma's body, and then he was lifted up by the black mist, and his body slowly stood up. The head first rotated 360 degrees, and then the body emitted a clicking sound, and the movement was extremely stiff. Then the fangs in the mouth, as well as the nails became longer and sharper, the eyes were blood red, and the skin was as snow white as a dead person. The whole person looked horrible, just like the ginger described on TV. The smell of decay was sickening. Holy shit, what kind of monster is this? Run, it's haunted, it's really haunted. Ginger silk? Isn't this a scientific world? How could there be something from the legend? The crowd of onlookers, seeing the strange scene, pulled out their legs and ran behind them, tens of millions of dollars of construction equipment said to be thrown away. The crowd formed a torrent, driving the other workers at the back who didn't know what was happening. The rain was raining uncontrollably, and the sky was shrouded by the black mist emanating from the stone monument, becoming even darker, as if it had entered the night all of a sudden. The black mist slowly went towards the crowd, and within the mist, Old Ma moved his body a bit, and only after completely mastering this body did he open his mouth with extreme excitement. Haha, finally came out. 1,000 years, a full 1,000 years, that stinking Taoist priest surnamed Wang, really ruthless. Now that I've finally come out, all the descendants of the Wang family will have to be slaughtered in their entirety and repay me with your blood. But this body, it's still a bit too weak. If only I could still drink some fresh blood, said Old Horse licked his lips, staring hungrily at the front, at the workers who were frantically escaping. Although the rain was heavy causing the road to be slippery, it didn't slow them down in the slightest, their fear all stemming from this unknown creature. But where would the hungry old horse let them go? Casually waved his hand, the slowly spreading black mist, it immediately turned into a rushing flood. Unstoppable, the mist came into contact with the workers, and those workers' movements to escape immediately came to a halt, with unwillingness still in their eyes. The black mist transformed into a pair of giant hands, picking up the fleeing workers like a small chicken and dragging them towards the depths of the dense black mist. Oh, immortal, please let me go. I have an old man and a young man. The captured worker, who was in his 30s or 40s, was still crying like a child. Pearly, his legs were stomping about in an attempt to break free. Unfortunately, in front of the absolute power, everything was useless. They seemed like jumping clowns. The final result was the same. The black mist came very quickly, many slow-moving workers were dragged into the black mist, and their miserable wailing screams came to an abrupt end. Bang bang, several consecutive sounds, the workers' blood vessels are like a ball of skin general burst open, blood vessels in the red blood, immediately from the burst open place to draw out, a drop of blood suspended in the air. The whole scene, just like a rainstorm, suddenly stops, the rainwater suspended in the air. The hand gently touches the rainwater will fall to the ground. This is a kind of wonders against science. The moment the blood was drained, all of their vitality suddenly disappeared, their bodies rapidly dried up, and then changed rapidly. All of Ginger's features gradually appeared on their bodies. Wow, such fresh blood, haven't tasted it for a long time, it's really fresh in my memory. Don't run away, all of you, I'll make you the Ginger Silk with the highest battle power, and lead the entire Ginger Silk Legion. Ha ha, what can a 1,000-year seal do to me? Wang Xiaoyi claims to be able to calculate the sky, but it's nothing more than that. After inhaling the blood into his body, the shogun commented on the blood first, and then laughed openly, mocking the person who had sealed him in the first place. This shogun was rumored to be a Ginger Silk ancestor, sucking human blood to manipulate Ginger Silk, transcending the third order and six paths. How terrifying! A huge army of Ginger Silk, under his control, the modern civilization of mankind would be in danger. The rolling black mist pushed straight into the sky, transforming into a heavenly pillar that could be seen from afar. Damn these bastards, how dare they destroy the sarcophagus? Wang Baoxin spat and cursed while still incredulous, then whirled around and urged Wang Hu behind him. Tiger, speed up even faster, we need to seal that thing back into the sarcophagus. For the thing sealed inside the sarcophagus, as the 120th generation heir, Wang Baoxin couldn't be clearer. If he really let that monster escape, he was afraid that the citizens of the entire Shanghai city would suffer, even the entire Dragon Kingdom. He still knew the stakes involved, so he couldn't help but speed up his steps by a few points. On the other side, there was also a group of people that came against the flow of people. What are you guys running for? What the hell is going on in front? Manager Wang Fu grabbed the fleeing worker and angrily questioned. The worker stammered and couldn't say a word, broke free from Wang Fu's restraints, and continued to run behind him without saying a word. Wang Fu stared at the back of that panic for a long time, do not move away from the line of sight, as if to memorize the person's appearance, so as to go back to see the person in front of him. No discipline, don't work when something happens, fucking deserves to only be a construction worker for the rest of his life. Wang Fu cursed, still somewhat unrelieved. Just when he still wanted to tell his men to stop the workers, Qin Yuqing, who stood next to him and looked up at the sky for a long time, twisted his beard and slowly opened his mouth to stop it. Manager Wang, there's no need for that. I already know what exactly happened in front. Hearing Qin Yuqing's dissuasion, Wang Fu said extremely panderingly, it's still Mr. Qin who's powerful, unlike these fools who even caused trouble for me. Qin Yuqing did not take Wang Fu's pandering to heart, but instead spoke again with a preoccupied look. The black pillars of qi in the sky are in fury qi, which only evil spirits can have. So the front must be an evil spirit making trouble, but this in fury chi is so strong. I'm afraid that the evil spirit's cultivation is extremely high. Perhaps we are not an opponent. However, it's too early to jump to conclusions. Why don't we go and have a look before we make plans? Although Qin Yuqing was inquiring, but that tone was unquestionable, so the few people accelerated their steps again. To be continued. Pfft. The sharp fangs broke through the arterial blood vessels in the person's neck, and blood flowed along the shape of the fangs into Ginger's mouth under the effect of a huge suction force. The moment the blood flowed into the mouth, Ginger's originally stiff expression actually gained a trace of life and became extremely excited. Fiercely increasing her force again, the blood rolled back into her mouth, her hands choking her prey to death, causing her to struggle nothing. The blood was blocked and sucked away. The choked worker's face was green and red for a while, but he had no room to resist. The worker who had been turned into a gingerbread was more than 10 times stronger than his original strength, and it was a breeze to deal with an adult male. Pouncing, the sucked dry worker was casually thrown on the ground by Ginger Silk, who whirled around and set her eyes on, again, those fleeing workers in front of her. With a sharp jump, she was tens of meters high, and landed 100 meters away with a loud bang. Her speed was not fast. Rigid hands waved, Click choked a fleeing worker, twisted its neck to reach the best position, extremely sharp fangs fiercely stuck down. Everything was just as it was just now, sucking the blood out of the workers, and those who were drained of their blood, whirled around and stood up again, infected into new gingers. Joining in the blood-sucking feast, while the black hand behind the manipulation of all this, Shogun, was at the moment leisurely enjoying the scene in front of him. TSK, this ginger is expected to become a flying hairstiff. How about this one over here is suitable to become a white hairstiff, and this one over there is suitable to become a red hairstiff. He observed the performance of his minions, all of them judging their future evolutionary direction, and by recognizing their abilities, he would be able to form legions of ginger silks with different abilities. At that time, the human race is still not obediently defeated at his feet. The world can no longer match his rivals. Just as he was getting complacent, dozens of figures suddenly appeared in front of him, shielding themselves from the infuri chi. Walking slowly towards himself, he furrowed his brows and stared at these people intently, constantly scrutinizing them. A, C, D. The 12 of you advance from the direction of the 8 trigrams respectively. Qin Yuqing, who stood in the core position, held a mahogany sword in his left hand, a talisman in both fingers of his right hand, a copper sword at his waist, and wore a Taoist robe, which gave him quite an immortal aura. Behind them stood each of his 8 disciples, who were pinching red ropes soaked in black dog blood in their hands, and stood in the 8 trigrams position respectively. Attack with the 8 trigrams, trap him within the 8 trigrams, everyone together. With a snap, the talisman clutched in his right hand was ignited, the peachwood sword pierced through the talisman, and the power of the peachwood sword seemed to have increased by an unknown number of times all of a sudden. The mahogany sword arrived with the wind, and immediately Qin Yuqing shouted out violently, poised to strike, he arrowed out. The 8 disciples behind him, receiving orders, were faster than their master Qin Yuqing. The positions were constantly changing, and the red lines in their hands crossed and soon surrounded Shogun in the center. The red threads crossed lengthwise and crosswise, like a giant net, trapping Shogun in it, and the position where the 8 people stood, just happened to be the position corresponding to Qian, Koan, Silan, and so on the 8 trigrams. Qin Yuqing hand peach would sword shake down a sword flower, straight to the trapped in the center of the Shogun stabbing. Bright and shiny peachwood sword, carrying the Taoist magic power, but Shochin avoided not even avoided, eyes even flowed out of contempt. Click, the mahogany sword solidly inserted into Shou Chen's chest, but the people present were all dumbfounded at the scene in front of them. Among them, the most exaggerated is the person holding the sword, Qin Yuqing, because just now that force he felt the most intuitive. The moment the mahogany sword touched Shogun's body, it exploded with a loud bang, and the other party's body seemed to be like a sturdy wall. The wooden mahogany sword was unable to pierce into the opponent's body at all, and immediately afterward, he immediately picked up the bronze sword at his waist. Only hearing a bang, the red thread tying the copper coin suddenly collapsed, and then the coins fell to the ground with a clatter, and the copper sword in his hand was in no shape or form. Stunned look at General Chen, Qin Yuqing heart chills, what kind of evil spirit is this? General Chen smiled smugly, then with a wave of his sharp claws, the red ropes held by the 8 people, crackled and snapped as they attacked General Chen. Unfortunately, the 8 people's magic power is too low, this damage is nothing to him, probably just like a mosquito bite. In the blink of an eye, the red rope was broken, and the taut 8 people lost their balance for a moment, and they all fell behind them unawares. Ha! How dare you show off your skills in front of my eyes? Let's see if I don't clean you up properly. Watch the move. Shogun mocked with abandon, and the frustrated Qin Yuqing's face turned red, and it was a bit difficult for him, who had never failed in his life, to accept the result. But no one would care whether he accepted it or not. Shuang Chen's hands violently stretched tens of times, grabbing Qin Yuqing and promptly shrinking back to its usual form. Click, the neck was bitten off, blood burst out from the wound like a fountain. Master, I'm going to fight you. When his disciples saw this, some of them rebuked angrily, while others were silent and quietly disappeared behind them. Wang Fu, who was standing far away, looked at this scene in surprise. Mr. Qin. Even Mr. Qin is unable to deal with it. Without thinking, Wang Fu fled the scene. Even a generation of masters had fallen. He himself was not even an initiate. If he didn't run, it would be too late. Unfortunately, mortals are ultimately not comparable to evil spirits, only to see the black fury, condensed into a piece of blood spear. Plop, plop. Several sounds of skin and flesh being broken open rang out. The cohesive blood spear penetrated through the body of the crowd, and the aura of death then entered the body. The blood in the body, guided by the aura of death, converged towards Shogun's mouth. Then, Shogun's hand fiercely grew larger, holding the 8 Taoists around him in his hands. With a click, the necks of the 8 were broken hard, and a mouthful of blood was violently poured down. The pure blood entered his body, bursting out with more vigorous vitality than an ordinary person, and the decayed meridians in his body, after absorbing this pure blood, were quickly repaired again, and his decayed skin was revitalized. Ha ha ha, cool. The blood of a person who cultivates the Tao is really extraordinary, and the recovery of strength is also much faster. Feeling the change in his body's strength, Shogun clenched and unclenched his fists. His body thumped as that long-lost sense of power finally returned. His face also returned to a youth-like appearance, his head full of white hair fluttering in the wind, and his entire person was completely indistinguishable from a normal human except for his eyes, which were scarlet in color. 1,000 years of sealing, bones and flesh turned to ashes, and the soul was sealed in the stone tablet. 1. The dark and sunless stone monument, thousands of years of torture, and I've finally gotten over it. Wang Xiao'er, today I will kill all your descendants. The restored shogun, staring at the distant Wang family home, his eyes showed a flash of severity. There was a person in the distance who felt his terrifying gaze, but that person didn't retreat. Instead, he continued to walk towards him. This Yin Fury Chi, only a few minutes past, is much stronger again. I'm afraid I'll have to explain myself here today. With a gloomy expression, carefully staring at the Yin fiendish Chi converging in the sky, Wang Baoxin was jittery, and had already prepared for the worst in his heart. Immediately, he turned his head and said to Wang Hu behind him, "Tiger, give me the peach sword and talisman, you quickly retreat and leave this place." Behind him, Wang Hu, his body froze, incredulously looking at his master, even rubbing his ears before he was sure that his master was telling him to leave. Divine Ghost 7 Killings Order, I have completely passed it on to you, you must practice more in the future, no more laziness. Now I formally pass on the position of Master of Coffin Locking Mountain to you. From now on, you will be the 121st heir. Guarding the Wangjia village in Shanghai City will be your responsibility, do you hear me? Seeing his disciple dazed, Wang Baoxin took the backpack held by Wang Hu, drew out the peach sword and talisman inside the bag, and solemnly explained with Wang Hu again. "Oh, master, I am simply incapable of protecting everyone, you'd better come back safely." Wang Hu couldn't stop his tears from flowing. Although normally masters were very strict with themselves, but after all, once a teacher, always a father, that kind of feeling could only be experienced by him at this moment. The voice sobbing is moving, but Wang Baoxin can't make a woman's gesture, but instead, his face is furious, and then both palms strike out, sending Wang Hu flying behind him. "Tiger, remember what I just said." Dropping these words, Wang Baoxin held the sword in his right hand and clutched the talisman in his left hand. With a touching sound the talisman burned and the peach sword seemed to be strengthened. Shuangchen saw Wang Baoxin from afar, that blood chi that was even more pure than Qin Yuqing's just now. He had been salivating for a long time. A high degree of blood chi purity indicated that the person's cultivation Tao was quite deep. The purer the blood chi, the faster it would be for restoring the general's own strength, which was exactly what he was looking forward to. He grinned when he saw Wang Baoxin appear, and when he saw that the other party didn't run away, but instead rushed towards him, he was even happier. "Little ones, play with him." Shogun gave orders to his minions. He still had 3 or 4 Taoist disciples here that he hadn't dealt with yet, so he had to tell his minions to stall for a bit first. By the time he drained these 3 again, he would have almost reached the 4th rank level. As for Wang Baoxin, at this moment, he was only at the peak strength of the 3rd rank of the district. Ow! The ginger silks let out mournful howls and suddenly rushed in different directions. Some of the ginger silks would also grow stiff hairs, long stiff hairs enveloping the whole body, different colors of stiff hairs, then the ginger silk's abilities would be different. However, this stiff hair is also the sign of second-order ginger silk, so Wang Baoxin is facing a group of second-order ginger silk. The densely packed ginger silk came from all directions. At this moment, the rain was still falling, wetting Wang Baoxin's deep eyes, so he simply gave up his sight and stood still to feel it with his heart. Taishangzhenjuan, the Tao Chi is everlasting, gods and ghosts are invisible, kill the heaven and the earth, the gods and ghosts 7 killing orders, the 4th order of the earth's fury order. Sensing the gingers entering their attack range, Wang Bashinan hurriedly retrieved the peach sword, his hand gestures changed to constantly pinch, mana surged in his palm, and he slapped the ground with a boom. Rumble. At once, with him as the center, the ground appeared as a spider web of cracks, the ground instantly appeared dozens of meters of deep pits, the gingers were caught off guard and fell into the deep pits. Then the magma and debris came, and the only thing that could be heard on the scene were the screams and wails of the gingers. Wang Bashin closed his palm and stood with his head bent down, looking at his results with interest. It had been many years since he had used the Divine Ghost's 7 killing orders, but his handiwork was fortunately not rusty by much. TSK, Divine Ghost's 7 killing orders. It seems like that person is undoubtedly Wang Xiaoer's descendant. No wonder the sea of blood is so vigorous. Shogun licked the residual blood on his lips, and his desire to suck Wang Bashin dry became even stronger, but he had also finished with those 3. A flash came across to Wang Bashin. On the ground his minions were dead and wounded, but he wasn't worried at all. As long as his strength could be raised, he could have as many minions as he wanted. After all, the infection of the Yin fiendish qi is not something that anyone can withstand. Even Wang Bashin, who was present at the meeting, did not dare to say that he could withstand it 100%. If he was eroded by the Yin fiendish qi, then there was only one outcome, and that was to turn into ginger silk and become one of Shogun's henchmen. Descendant of the Wang family, you are not even close to your ancestor Wang Xiaoer. What a disappointment. It's been thousands of years since I've made a move. I was thinking that I could fight with all my heart and soul, but now? It seems that I can't. Poof, the energy ripples of the 4th rank, from Shuang Chen's body to spread in all directions, blowing gusts of biting wind, the rain falling from the sky are intent on avoiding him. The shogun of his time only wanted a quick battle. Sinful animal, is the name of the ancestor not something you can call? Saying this, Wang Bashin made a bow with both hands and arched his hand in the direction of the Wang family's house with an extremely respectful look. Immediately, only then did he open his mouth to curse angrily. Sinful animal, 1,000 years ago, the ancestor was able to seal you, so I can seal you as well. Fingers pinched, immediately there was energy converging towards Wang Bashin, mana surging within his body, majestic aura spreading out, although it was not as good as Shogun's 4th order aura, but it also stopped the other party's advance. Griffins are griffins, I like your struggle. Shogun's hand suddenly extended and came at Wang Baoshin. The sharp claws carried a rich Yin fiendish qi. As long as the wound was cut, the Yin fiendish qi would enter the human body, the human's body temperature would plummet, and the body would directly turn stiff. This was the horror of the Yin fiendish qi. Taishin, the strain is unceasing, drive away the evil and bind the phantom. The Taoist qi lives forever. The 7 killing orders of gods and ghosts. The first order kills and breaks the order. Mana gathered on his right twin fingers, and a lightsaber formed on his fingertips. Bang bang. The lightsaber chopped on its arm, as if it was chopping on a copper wall and an iron wall. It simply couldn't cut through it, and it didn't leave any wounds. Wang Bashin looked at the situation in front of him with surprise. The kill break order was his most skillful move, and he had learned this move from the beginning. For his own this move, he is still extremely confident, but now the situation is out of his expectations. Even if he couldn't cut down the other party's arm, but there was no wound at all, then there was only one possibility. The other party was at least the 4th rank or more than the 4th rank. Thinking of this, he could no longer see his hope of survival, so he simply fought to the death. Ha, is your kill break order tickling me? It doesn't hurt at all, instead it's so comfortable. The shogun, who did not receive any fatal injuries, laughed out loud in mockery, and then his expression condensed, and his arms, which were stretching freely, came towards Wang Bashin at an extremely fast speed. The fangs also appeared along with them, and the white skin became rotten, completely changing back to its original ginger form, and its combat power increased again. Li Qian retrieved his thoughts. He had only heard about it up to here. The in-depth details, not being a party to it, was completely unclear. He only learned a generalization, that is, Shanghai City used the support of the entire city to assist Wang Bao in sealing the general. As for the method used, that was unknown, and with only a student status, he was not authorized to learn more about the matter. His gaze once again looked into the alley, only to see the ginger silks in the alley, roaring in anger, all agitated and rushing towards the position of the patrol division. Just seeing so many ginger silks storming off, the patrol division's gunfire became even more intense, and the loud gunfire in turn attracted even more ginger silk and altered beasts over. A dead cycle was formed, and even though the patrol division's man was a wizard of the heavenly congregation, it was difficult for him to escape with his life. Ow! Various kinds of mutant beasts, looking for the sound of gunshots, came and hissed, declaring that the patrol division was their own turf, and the food on it was naturally theirs as well. Regarding their own kind's announcement, the other mutant beasts simply ignored it, and also headed straight for the patrol division. There were even some mutant beasts that fought with their own kind, but more of them were blocked by the Ginger Silk Army. The Ginger Silk Army emitted a heavy rotting aura and moved neatly as they jumped around and stared at the charging mutant beasts with a deadly stare. The undead aura that came from the depths of this hell was very obvious, and quite a few lower-ranked mutant beasts slowed down and stopped to watch, not daring to take another step forward. The high-ranked mutant beasts, on the other hand, continued to advance, at the same time showing their teeth and letting out the low roars that were inherent to wild beasts, wanting to scare off the Ginger Silk army in front of them. However, as if the Ginger Silk army had been given some sort of order, it stood in place without moving. Gazing at what was happening in front of him, Li Qian saw a demon bat take the lead in attacking. 1. The demonic bat, whose body was a human body with a hideous and ugly face, had a pair of huge wings growing on its back that were constantly stirring, maintaining him suspended in the air. Buzz. An invisible sound wave was emitted from its mouth, and a huge sound wave erupted. The glass of many buildings in the alley thumped and shattered into pieces, and then turned into powder under the vibration of the sound wave. Quite a few low-ranked gingers, their bodies were even exploded, rotting pieces of flesh splattered everywhere. The scene was extremely terrifying. The third-ranked demon bat, its natural effect was not something to be reckoned with. Seeing this, the other mutant beasts immediately pounced on them. Their sharp claws violently slashed at the bodies of the gingers, and the low-ranked gingers were directly not torn into pieces. For a moment, the formation of the Ginger Silk army was broken, as if the Ginger Silk army was about to collapse. However, the next second, the Ginger Silk army got the order. Those second-order zombies with stiff hairs pounced on the demon bats in the sky one after another. Especially the yellow-haired gingers with extremely high bouncing power could easily jump to the sky with a single jump and pounce on the demon bats with both hands. There were some red-haired gingers that even adopted the Iron Luohan approach, attacking the demon bats in the sky. The arm span of the demon bat's wings alone was a full 8 meters long, showing how big its body was, so the range it was attacked in was huge. Under the attack of the army of gingers, the third-ranked demonic bat also had difficulty in defeating 4 hands, and was eventually caught by a yellow-haired gingers that grabbed its wings. With a sudden unsteady center of gravity, it nearly fell into the Ginger Silk army, but because of this mistake, it was swiftly caught by the Ginger Silk army. Then, countless ginger threads lunged at it, with 3 or 4 of them instantly hanging from its body, fangs bared, biting off its flesh. Heart-rending howls rang out at once. The other mutant beasts saw this and immediately scattered behind them. The third-ranked demon bat was already the strongest fighting force existing among them. Now that they had all been taken down by the other party, there was naturally no need to fight on. The ground of the alley shook once again. At this moment, Li Qian's palms were sweaty, although he had already been upgraded to the 4th rank, but he would be facing thousands of mutant beasts. People can tire themselves out in a wheel battle, not to mention the mutant beasts attacking together, and not to mention the presence of an army of gingers. Having tension was definitely unavoidable. At least Li Qian was much more calm than the two behind him. Yanzi and Cui Shui's bodies were shivering and their eyes were even more afraid to look at the scene outside the window. So many mutant beasts as well as gingers, the two of them had never seen it before, and they were still girls. They were already scared of these things, not to mention the fact that they were now close to themselves. Without shouting out in fear, they were already considered good. Damn, if this continues, we will be trapped inside the supermarket and then be discovered by the gingers and end up dying here. Seeing that the other party was still shooting, Li Qian still couldn't help but curse. As soon as the words left his mouth, he saw through the glass that the ginger silks on the opposite side were looking straight at him, and Li Qian secretly said something bad in his heart. Then, the huge army of ginger silk, which came from various streets towards the alley, suddenly abandoned the target of the patrol division and turned to the location where Li Qian was. Feeling puzzled, Li Qian couldn't help but recall the scene just now. Could it be that they had acquired the gift of demonic bats? This was the only thing that could be thought of because Li Qian knew that demon bats had a sonic probing talent that was equivalent to radar, capable of searching for prey within its range. It was equivalent to opening a full map view, and first view humans naturally couldn't play with these types of creatures, so they went out wearing combat suits made of special materials to shield themselves from these sonic detections. However, it was only now that the mutation had just begun, so naturally there were no such clothing yet, and it was only right for Li Qian and the others to be discovered. Not good, run away. The gingers outside the window, coming from all directions, had surrounded the supermarket building where Li Qian was. Roar! The ginger silk army let out a roar, then one followed the other, jumping up and crashing into the glass, breaking into the building like a madman, and before Li Qian could react, ginger silk appeared everywhere inside the building. Oh, what should we do? Swallow was at a loss for words as she looked at the army of ginger silk in front of her. Her talent was only a healing-type talent, and she relied on her teammates' output for all her combat. Therefore, for her own well-being, she valued her teammates' abilities even more. Although Li Qian had shown his strength just now, she didn't think that Li Qian would be able to withstand the ginger silk army in front of her. Don't panic, there's still Li Qian. Cui Shui patted Yan's shoulder to give her encouragement. The General Li Qian cold face, observing the situation inside the building. There are already quite a few ginger silks on the upper floors, and there are also some red ginger silks. A punch shatters the wall of the building, and the low-level ginger silks swarm in. Protect yourselves, I am not your fighter. Li Qian coldly replied back. He himself was not a bodyguard for the two of them. In the end times human life was the most worthless thing. Still want to use morality to kidnap himself? That was impossible. Now that Li Qian has figured out the situation of Wang Fujing supermarket, it's time to go. Ginger body exudes a little bit of sinister aura. The temperature within the building suddenly plummeted, as if in the middle of the ice and snow. Densely packed ginger silk, like a tidal wave, hundreds of meters high building, but also has been shaken. The patrol division of that person to see the ginger silk receded, a long sigh of relief to relax. Phew, these disgusting ginger silk is finally gone. What's wrong with this world? It was fine yesterday. The hands that gripped the end of the pistol tightly, slowly lowered as she sighed, and the physical fatigue came up with it. The police flower, Lin Yuyan, looked haggard and paralyzed on the ground. Several times the patrol division had almost been overrun by an army of ginger silk. Yesterday, when the mutation first broke out, there weren't even that many gingers, and only after a day or so, there were gradually more gingers around the patrol division. As if there was something they needed in the patrol division. These are still just Lin Yuyan's own conjecture. For this problem, at this moment, she did not continue to think about it, just want to sleep and take a hot bath. Snapping, the sound of the fire engine sounded. Not long after a mouthful of white smoke floated up, the brain in this moment got a great relaxation. The body's fatigue seemed to disappear all of a sudden. After the body was briefly relaxed, the Captain Zhang Hao only frowned, looking at the several people around him, and spoke seriously. All of you, check your own bodies and at the same time check each other again to see if you've been infected. The 5 team members, including Lin Yuyan, all moved neatly to check their wounds. The sound of rustling clothes instantly resounded within the hall of the patrol division as all 5 people carefully checked their bodies. They were well aware of any wounds, and what that would mean, that they would be transformed into the ugly gingers that had just wandered the streets. Soon the sound gradually diminished, and all 5 people's movements stopped. Hu Zhifei, who was among the 5, pressed down on his index finger where the pain was, but he didn't find a wound even when he looked closely. He only thought it was caused by his index finger pulling the trigger for too long, so he didn't really care. Have you checked everything? Is it in good condition? Zhang Hao, the captain of the team at this moment, tensed his nerves and looked towards his teammates. Whenever this moment came, he was the most nervous. He hoped more than any other person that his team members weren't infected. They were his comrades. Yesterday, just because of his own mistake, more than 40 people out of the team's 7-4 odd were infected, and then many of his comrades were sacrificed in the battle, leaving only 6 people in the team. That was why after every battle, Zhang Hao would ask his team members to check each other's bodies. No wounds were found. The 5 team members spoke in unison, and then returned to their usual appearance. Upon hearing these words, Zhang Hao's nerves loosened up, looking at the direction in which the ginger silk hordes were advancing and pondering on the general direction of the future. These ginger silk, what are they doing going to the front? Ghost knows, but we can finally catch our breath. Yeah, I thought I was going to be accounted for here. I'm really not happy that I haven't gotten a wife yet. That direction, will there be its people, who are helping us to attract ginger? Lin Yuyan, who was gifted as a firearms expert, had a keen ability to see. During the battle with the army of ginger silk just now, she then felt that on the opposite side of the alley, there seemed to be a pair of eyes staring at her. Big cop Lin, are you joking? It's the end of the world now. They can't even run. How could anyone sacrifice themselves to save others? Zhang Hao, who was sitting on the ground, said half-jokingly to Lin Yuyan. Those who were willing to help others in this post-apocalyptic world would have long since died either at the hands of their own kind or in the mouths of mutant beasts. In short, it was impossible for them to have survived until now. But just as he finished speaking, the sound of puffing and puffing came from the distance, echoing in the alley. The huge ginger silk army formation appeared to be ruptured, and there were constantly ginger silk being chopped into pieces. You guys stay close, I don't care if you fall behind. Li Qian, who was in front, was holding a double-ridged thunder blade, hacking at the ginger silk in front of him, followed by flashes of purple electric awnings. The thunder knives entered his body, and the electric aura also entered Jiang Xi's body. Zzz. In an instant, the rotting chunks of meat, under the effect of the electric awnings, emitted a characteristic sound. The smell of burning meat as well as rotting immediately filled the air. Led by Li Qian, the 3 of them seemed to be like a cone, chiseling through the entire ginger army's defense. Their goal was to head to the alley, where there were many buildings and the narrow space could not accommodate more people. By utilizing the narrow space of the alleys, they reduced the number of enemies they faced and created a living chance of escape. This was the method Li Qian thought of, utilizing the terrain to the extreme. What kind of person is that, to be able to kill ginger to the point of retreat? Boss, should we go and receive them? Anyo, you're thinking that we have a long life, aren't you? If you can't even take care of yourself and want to save others, then the only way to end up is to all stay here. Brother Fei is right, we should run now, but we don't know much about the situation outside. To be able to beat the entire Ginger army into retreat, I'm afraid that person's level is definitely much higher than mine. Among the several people, only the captain, Zhang Hao, and Lin Yuyan were at the second rank, while the others were at the first rank level. If it wasn't for Lin Yuyan's firearms expert talent, the patrol division would have long since fallen, and several people would have long since turned into Gingers. Lin Yuyan's firearms expert talent was not only able to carry out comprehensive repairs on firearms, but also had a keen shooting insight ability, and the accuracy of her shooting was much higher than that of an ordinary person. Relying on the patrol division's sturdy defense offensive, as well as its internal arsenal, if there was enough ammunition, then the Ginger army would never be able to enter in their lifetime. Captain, we can't just see death and save him. That strong man was able to take care of Ginger Silk so easily. If he wants to kill us, it must be easy. If we go and help him, then we will befriend a strong man, and we will have something to rely on in this end world. If we offend him, then we might be afraid that we won't even be able to walk out of the patrol division. Lin Yuyan narrated her analysis. Captain Zhang Hao nodded his head in agreement. Lin Yuyan's thoughts were right in line with his own. I agree with Yuyan's view, now let's go out and save them. Zhang Hao no longer hesitated and gave the order cleanly. The other members didn't squirm and followed Zhang Hao's lead, walking out of the door of the patrol division. However, the moment they had just stepped out of the gate, a frightening scene occurred outside. 5 red-haired Gingers surrounded Li Qian's trio, with more red-haired Gingers converging behind them. Li Qian, who had just experienced a great battle, his body had already entered a state of exhaustion, and he still didn't have the energy to summon his battle spirit, and only had 2 thunder blades in his hand. Seeing the dangerous aura coming from the surroundings, Li Qian mentally calculated the distance of himself and the others, gritted his teeth and secretly whispered, "Hold on a little longer, there are still the last 30 meters. Buzz. The red-haired Gingers violently slapped out their own large palms. Li Qian's dual swords wandered around, either chopping or slashing, chopping off quite a few of the Gingers' hands. However, there were still some leaks, and Li Qian again used his stance to skillfully dodge them. With a loud boom, the Ginger Silk's palm slapped on the ground, and a 10-meter handprint appeared on the ground. Powerful Jiangxi really lives up to its name. Seeing the handprint, Li Qian couldn't help but feel a little bit scared. However, he already had a way to deal with the red Ginger Silk in his mind, and he knew that its disadvantage was its slow speed. A few missed red Ginger threads were about to draw back their hands. Li Qian immediately leaned down and slashed again, and immediately the rotting head fell to the ground. In a short blink of an eye, Li Qian resolved these red Ginger Silks, and he was about to move on when an accident happened behind him. Oh, Cui Shui, quickly save me, please save me. The swallow behind Li Qian let out a miserable scream. While taking advantage of the opening moment to kill the red Ginger, Li Qian twisted his head to look behind him, only to find an unexpected scene. The Ginger Silk, covered in yellow hair, was viciously tugging on Swallow's thigh while Swallow was pulling on Cui Shui's arm and not letting go. Behind Yin Zi, a group of zombies of different colors had been stupidly moving and were preparing to swarm in. Cui Shui, whose level was only 1 rank, was at a loss for words. In the past, it was always the captain who arranged the task and just completed it himself. Now with the sudden emergence of unexpected things, she didn't know what to do for a moment. Different from her reaction was Li Qian. The thunder blade in his hand picked upwards and decisively swallows to slice off the arm that grabbed Cui Shui. Snap! The bloody broken arm fell to the ground. The wail of the swallow reached its peak at this moment. I'm afraid it could be heard from 100 miles away. Cui Shui, on the other hand, stood straight in place, dumbfounded at what was happening in front of her. Her mind hadn't completely turned around yet. It was still the same mindset she had before the mutation, which was to have the mindset of helping others. Without waiting for her to figure it out, her body was violently yanked forward. Li Qian yanked her hand, and without even looking at Yin Zi anymore, she immediately turned around and rushed towards the alley in front of her. Li Qian, I won't let you go. Swallow was behind her, shouting angrily. Only a brief sound was made before she was pounced on by so many Gingers that her blood was all sucked out and many of her Gingers were leveled up. In the end, she turned into a mindless Ginger Silk monster, following the lead of the higher-level Ginger Silks, coming in the direction that Li Qian had fled. Seeing this scene, the hearts of the few people who had just stepped out of the door trembled as they looked at Li Qian unbelievably. This person is so cold and heartless that he doesn't even care about his own teammates. Was our choice hasty? Among the 6 people, one of them spoke coldly, disliking Li Qian's practice of leaving his companions behind. Captain, I'm afraid this person is an ungrateful person. Let's not go to support him. Hu Zhifei rubbed his aching palms, feeling a slight sting in his eyes, and then he whirled around and rubbed his eyes again before telling the crowd what he thought. The other members all echoed Hu Zhifei's suggestion, generally agreeing that people who left their comrades behind were no good. At this moment, only Lin Yuyan and Captain Zhang Hao were silent. Both of their thoughts were to befriend each other. After all, that person's terrifying strength was there. He and the others were only at the second rank, if it wasn't for the other party attracting the Ginger army, otherwise he and the others wouldn't even have a chance to leave the patrol division alive. Thinking about this, Captain Zhang Hao suppressed the dissatisfaction of the crowd and whirled around to ask his team members rhetorically, "If we don't go to save him, then my hope of getting out alive is gone. Do you all want to turn into that ugly and disgusting Ginger?" The crowd was silent. They all knew clearly that what the captain said was reasonable, but they couldn't swallow this breath in their hearts, so they stopped speaking. Seeing that the crowd had nothing to say, the Captain Zhang Hao whirled around and opened his mouth to give orders again. "If everyone has no comments, then we will all go together." Li Qian, who was dragging Cui Shui, put his foot down and ran towards the alley, but as soon as he entered the alley, he realized that 6 figures emerged from the patrol division in front of him. They are wearing the original uniform, both hands with a gun, cat eyes looking around. Movement is extremely skillful. At a glance, we know that usually diligent training exudes a cold aura of murder. But Li Qian also saw that behind them were quite a few Gingers assembling, converging from other places. There's no end to it. Li Qian really couldn't help but spit out a sentence. The Ginger silk seemed to be endless to kill. He wondered if he had entered a corpse nest. The huge swarm of Ginger silk, he couldn't even see what was on the opposite side of the road anymore. Li Qian hurriedly ran behind Zhang Hao, and immediately Zhang Hao ordered the people on both sides to open fire, so escorted Li Qian into the patrol division. Ta-da! The firearms emitted a beastly roar, bullets poured down like a rainstorm. The sound of bullets entering the body rang out. Under the dense rain of bullets, the body of the Ginger was shot into a sieve, the bones were shattered, the skull was as if it had been gnawed by a dog, and finally collapsed on the ground without exception. Soon the crowd returned within the patrol division. The other members of the group guarded the gate of the patrol division with their rifles mounted. The narrow gate could only pass through 10 or less Gingers at a time. Even an ordinary person given a gun would be able to guard it, let alone a group of well-trained members of the patrol division. Swallow. Swallow she's dead. Recalling the scene just now when Swallow turned into Ginger, Cui Shui kept shaking her head, unable to believe that Swallow, who had just been treating her, had just turned into an ugly Ginger. Her eyes fell on Li Qian's body, her tears completely flowed down, her voice sobbed and she sternly questioned Li Qian. "Why don't you save Swallow? That's your companion." "Companion? I never wanted to join you, and I don't need companions, I only need slaves. If you are willing to be my slaves, then I can take you away safely." Li Qian responded with a domineering aura, and immediately Cui Shui was stunned by this aura and her crying stopped. When the 6 people from the patrol division heard this, they all had a few huffs on their faces. But the other party just simply stood there, but felt a majesty from the heavenly Tao. The crowd's heart resounded with the voice of the heavenly Tao untouchable echoing. Hu Zhifei in the crowd, looking at Li Qian and the others in front of him, had the idea of going up and taking a bite, and also felt as if his teeth were growing. His eyes were also getting redder and redder, and his consciousness was constantly cloudy. Not waiting for him to completely turn into a Ginger, he only heard a plopping sound before he was pierced through his body again by the purple blade. Hu Zhifei looked straight at the owner of the blade, while Li Qian gently turned the thunder blade. Hu Zhifei then felt severe pain and his consciousness seemed to be about to disappear. You, why did you kill Zhifei? We don't welcome you here, get the hell out. Not taking human life seriously, what's the difference between you and a vicious outlaw? If you don't give us a reasonable explanation, even if we put our lives on the line, we won't let you go. For a while, the other patrol division personnel who had long been looking at Li Qian's displeasure, all cursed at him. Only Lin Yuyan and Captain Zhang Hao were composed. Both of them felt that the other party would not kill randomly. Both of them coincidentally lowered their bodies to check Hu Zhifei's body, and both of them couldn't help but be shocked. Only to see that Hu Zhifei's eyes were scarlet, his teeth were progressing towards the length of his fangs, and parts of the skin on his face had begun to corpsify. After examining it, they looked at Li Qian again in unison, waiting for his explanation. "TSK, you guys are really a bunch of losers. You didn't even realize that your companions were infected by the Ginger. At most, they can live for 3 days. After 3 days they will either be eaten or infected into other monsters." Looking at the gazes cast by the crowd, Li Qian spoke indifferently. Such a simple thing, but there were still people who didn't understand it. Li Qian felt puzzled. The few people who were cursing were unable to speak as if they had eaten rats in their mouths. "How is your excellency addressed?" Captain Zhang Hao saw Li Qian's extraordinary demeanor, as if he knew this disaster like the back of his hand. Thus, Zhang Hao clasped his hands and bowed to Li Qian. His attitude was much more respectful than the others, completely abandoning the identity of the patrol superintendent that everyone admired before the mutation. Li Qian narrowed his eyes as his gaze traveled over Zhang Hao's body. Li Qian could feel the second-rank aura on the other party. To be able to break through to the second rank in just 2 days, he was by no means a generalized person. On his own journey, he still did not know what kind of dangers there were, so it was not impossible to collect a few more juniors. Moreover, the other party was of the second rank, and one should know that in the pre-mutation stage, if the rank exceeded others, then the rank gap in the future would be like a chasm, which could never be crossed again. Assuming that there was another person to guide them, then their achievements would never be low. You don't need to know my name, you only need to know that I am your master and you are my slave. As his eyes left Zhang Hao and turned to the ginger army outside, Li Qian spoke icily. Without the slightest regard for the saving of his life just now, the people present felt the temperature drop quite a bit as soon as the voice came out. This is very thin and cold, no emotion at all, as if there is no 7 emotions. The same thought resounded in the hearts of the crowd at this moment, never having seen such a human being. Zhang Hao, on the other hand, shuddered in his heart. His attitude was clearly already respectful, not even giving him a chance to recognize him, let alone befriending this person. He turned his head to look around. There were only 4 team members left standing, their faces were bruised and battered, and there was no shortage of fatigue to be seen in their eyes. The pain of losing his comrades, and the torture of having to send them away with his own hands, was an ordeal he no longer wanted to endure. With a thud, his knees hit the ground heavily. The crowd could not even hear the howling of the ginger outside at this point, but the sound of this kneeling was as loud as thunder. Master, my humble servant Zhang Hao, what should we do now? In order to find a way for his brothers to live, Zhang Hao, a tall man, knelt down to Li Qian without any hesitation. His teammates, including Lin Yuyan, watched in disbelief as their captain actually knelt down to a brat. Even if Lin Yuyan was not a male, she felt shame. Captain? The crowd spoke in unison, gazing at Zhang Hao in disbelief. Zhang Hao looked at Li Qian and saw that the other party's expression was somewhat moved before he turned his head to look at his own team again. There is no need to ask more questions, we have no choice in our path. When everyone saw the determination in Zhang Hao's eyes, Lin Yuyan immediately knelt down without being told, the same as Zhang Hao had just done. The others looked at each other in disbelief. Even if there was dissatisfaction in their hearts, they didn't dare to show it. The 2 high-end warriors on their side had defected to the other side, and they had to slowly kneel down. Although they knelt down, they were still unwilling to accept it in their hearts. Let's go. Seeing that everyone had submitted, Li Qian was about to speak when he suddenly heard a loud rumbling outside. Then, there were a few more loud bangs. Li Qian came to the window to check and found that the supermarket building where he was originally located had collapsed at this moment. Glass shattered, reinforced concrete deformed, brick walls crushed, setting off a storm of dust and sand that could not be seen. Suddenly, deep underground in the patrol division, the talisman on top of the stone monument with broken soil layer shattered, and the monument instantly emitted a dazzling golden color. The golden light enveloped the crowd, and the gingers outside the patrol division were all quiet in unison at this moment, like a disciplined force. The entire inside of the patrol division seemed to be illuminated, and the golden light was fleeting. In the next second, Li Qian and the others appeared on an empty construction site. The entire sky was eerily dark and it was drizzling. This is your soul chaser? Ha! Even the heavenly god can't summon it, and you dare to call it a soul-chasing order. You're really arrogant too. Wang Baxin, who was pinching his knuckles, followed Shogun's gaze and saw that there were indeed a few more humans behind himself, not the heavenly god Rexes that he had summoned before. Shuang Chen's mockery did not alarm Wang Baxin, but when he saw Li Qian and the others, he felt uneasy in his heart. He had never summoned any humans when he used the soul-chasing order, but this time there was an accident. It was also unclear what the other party was it a foe or a friend? Wang Baxin didn't care whether the other party was a foe or a friend anymore. Since he had summoned the other party over, he was obligated to protect the other party, so Wang Baxin opened his mouth to persuade. No good intention, little brother. I'm not sure what summoned you guys here. You guys leave here first, this place is very dangerous. Unfortunately, without waiting for Wang Baxin to continue, Shogun immediately attacked Li Qian and the others. You don't have to leave because you will all become my food. Ha ha ha. Shogun laughed mournfully, salivating as he looked ahead at Li Qian and the others. The pure blood chi in his body was quite a bit more vigorous than this Wang Baxin in front of him who was over 100 years old. Eating them, their strength would definitely receive a super burning boost. At that time, no one in the world would be able to resist him and his ginger army anymore, and the human race, a selfish and self-serving race, would cease to exist. Sight? Weren't we at the station just now? How did we suddenly come here? Looking at the torrential rain and yellow mud mixed together, as well as the excavator that rumbled with a roaring vacancy. Looking around, Lin Yuyan opened her mouth differently. The rest of the special operations team also looked for sounds to observe. Zhang Hao, who had been silent for a long time, his eagle-like eyes, carefully observing the surrounding situation, suddenly hoarsely opened his mouth. We may have crossed over, the place we are should be where the patrol division is. Crossing over? Team Zhang, you're afraid you're not joking? What Team Zhang said may not be incorrect. After all, Ginger has come out. What could be more outrageous? A few young special warriors, cutting and whispering, their gazes turned to Zhang Hao waiting for him to answer. Li Qian, who knew the reason for this, did not speak immediately, but instead looked at Zhang Hao with interest. It is also considered to cultivate each other, the ability to adapt, otherwise everything has to rely on their own, but also little brother to do? Zhang Hao also does not make a show of metaphysics, a finger pointed to a large bell tower in front of him, said in a slow voice. This big clock tower, the direction that has been facing us is our bureau, and the distance also matches perfectly, so I conclude that we must have crossed over. Crowd, what's wrong with this world?